Hello, everybody. It is 10:10 p.m. Central Time on the 20th of August, 2018. Sorry for the late start tonight, guys. Monday night here in the United States, Tuesday internationally, and let me welcome you into the Earthquake 3D live stream, where we do daily recaps of seismic events, and every week, every Sunday night, I issue new earthquake forecasts for areas to be on watch for movement. You can go catch the earthquake forecast over on my YouTube channel. It's titled Global Earthquake Forecast. Pretty easy to find. So let's get into the deep end on the seismic activity that struck since last night. So we're going to turn this down for 24 hours, and let me get a display capture turned on here so that you can see what I see, and you'll be able to see my mouse. It'll make it a little easier. And we're going to start here where our very large, deep earthquake struck a day and a half ago. The biggest, deepest earthquake we've ever seen. And we are in uncharted waters where we don't know what the expected effect of this big, deep earthquake will be. We have no prior examples, anything even similar to go on. So an 8.2 down below the plate. This is happening in an area called the asthenosphere, which is the semi-melted magma down below the plate. And a force, a amount of pressure is placed on the underside of the plate, and then that pressure spreads out. So since the big earthquake, let me get that off the feed there, this is everything that's happened since the large earthquake. So you'll see there's other large, deep quakes mixed in here, and let's wait for this to refresh to pull the most current earthquake. There we go. And you'll see spreading out from here, going to the west, and then branching off up towards Japan and over to the west into Indonesia, across the Indian Ocean, and even extending out towards Europe. We're going to get into all this, what has struck today. So a series of the same sized earthquakes struck across the entire planet in the last day, all in the 5 to 5.1 range. We'll start down here in New Zealand last night with the 5.1 in the Kermadec Islands, and then today a rare 5.1 striking in the Samoan Islands. This is on the back side of our two arrows. We've only seen a handful of earthquakes happen out here in the last 8 years. Only when there's a big disturbance right here do we see force come across, and now it's going to travel across these fracture zones. Do you see they're shaped like east to west, well, actually northeast to southwest, but they're equidistantly spaced all the way across the Pacific. They lead right back to this, and you can follow this right over into Mexico, where we saw an increase today. I'll get into that as well. So 5.1s spreading to the south and to the north. Well, also, just last night, the 5.1 spread over here to the east, and a 5.1 spread down to the South Sandwich Islands. Now a 5.0, by the way. They downgraded that earthquake. So it really went 5.1, 5.1, 5.1, 5.1, all the way across the plate in the last day. That's going over to the east. Now over to the west, same thing. 5.0, 5.2, and then a combination of a series of 4s that equals 1.5 going up into Japan. And now, today, a new eruption at a volcano we have never had on the list as far as I can see. Let me go open up the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center and show you this. Alade volcano in the Kuril Islands. Never heard of it. I have to go look it up. It just popped on in the last few hours. So, you know what? Let's just go look it up right now. Find out where it is. Alade volcano, Kuril Islands. Atlasov Island. Okay. Alade. There we go. So, Atlasov Island. Never heard of it. Alade sending off a blast. Look where it is. It's right next to Ebico. Ebico is on this island right here. Here is Ebico. So now we have two simultaneous eruptions, Alade and Ebico. Wow. So combined total, again, a new eruption equals a 5.0. In case you're a new viewer and you don't know that, I'll tell you that right now. Every eruption we see, especially these new volcanoes, ones that are not normally on the list, equals about a 5.0 due to the hundreds, if not thousands, of small little tremors that add up to a cumulative total. So far you can see it, I think you'll be able to see it. A spread of 5s going down towards New Zealand, out towards South America, passing South America out towards the South Atlantic, and going up and spreading out in 2 directions. Now right in the middle of all this, we have Indonesia. Now Indonesia has filled in with multiple earthquakes over the past few days, and this follows our big, deep 6.5. Let me show that to you first. And we're going to talk about this in depth right now because there's a lot of people over there that are still concerned, and I don't blame you. You should be concerned. There's the biggest, deepest earthquake we've ever seen over to your east, and look which way the arrows point. They point to here, break 2 ways, one up to Japan, the other in your direction. So we already are dealing with this deep 6.5 that struck on the 17th, 3 days ago. This deep 6.5 struck first. Then we saw 6.3 on the 19th and the 6.9 on the 19th, separated by many hours. So first this one, then this one. But it was all pushed down below by the deep 6.5. So the deep 6.5 created pressure on the underside of Indonesia, and that pressure was immediately caught next to Mount Rinjani on the eastern side this time. And that force came up quickly within the course of a few days. So from the 17th to the 19th. Now here's how I want you to view this. This earthquake in dark red, or in a pinkish dark pink color, raised high off the globe, this is the bottom of the staircase. And the top of the staircase, very steep, right here. And a reverberation between the two occurred and is still occurring. How do we know? Well, there's ongoing earthquake activity at the spot, and it's picking up in magnitude again. So it went down to 4s, now it's going back up to 5s. It's increasing again. So why are we going down to 4s and then going back up to 5s? Those wouldn't be aftershocks. Aftershocks would go 6s, 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, 1s, 0s, and go away. That's the normal pattern. So for aftershocks to become greater, that means there's new energy being introduced now. And as new energy is introduced now into this spot here, this is Lombok, over to the west, right next to Mount Sinabung and Toba in Sumatra, a 5.2. So force is spreading out, and it's also filling in. Where's it filling in from? It's filling in from over here. Force is transferring into here, and force is transferring out of here over to the west. And we have the same sized earthquakes spreading out over to the west that we do to the east. Look, 5.2 in Sumatra and 5.0 at the mouth of the Gulf of Aden, south of Saudi Arabia. Same size, 5s, 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 and then spreading out this way, 5s, 5s, 5s. So half the planet right now has moved on a 5.0 basis, starting here. And over here in Indonesia, you are going to see another increase. But first, there should be new deep earthquakes on our northern letter D. Right here. A new deep earthquake should appear in the next few days or less, and that deep earthquake will dictate the size of your release in Indonesia again. So where are we going to look in Indonesia and why? I'm going to keep the watch between Java and Lombok, of course, that's obvious, but why? Well, it's not done moving. The fracturing is still occurring. This is a plate boundary just to the south, and between the plate boundary and Lombok, there's a buildup in pressure, which is fracturing and spreading to the east. We started on Lombok, and now, look. Here, let me show you. Sorry, okay, we'll put the coordinates in. This is important, so you need to look and understand which way this is going right now. There's a fracture that has occurred. It's not just a single earthquake. This is going across many miles. This is a 5.1, and earthquakes here, over on this island, and Rinjani and Lombok are here. So look what's happening. Let's measure from the 5.1 all the way to the tip of Lombok. Let's do that. Let's see how far of an area has started to fracture or continues to fracture. Okay, about 50 miles. So 50 mile stretch right now is in motion and still in motion, and it's spreading over to here. So it started here, spread to here, and that's where we are today. In the last 24 hours, a line of earthquakes, all the same size as well, 5.1. Today, 5.1, 5.1, 5.1, 5.1, and then 5.2, 5.0, and then 5.1, 5.0, and yesterday's 5.1. So 5.1 is the number of the day, and why? Well, that's the first wave on this. Now, here's how I want you to think of this. A tsunami. When a tsunami wave comes in, first the water withdraws. Then the first wave comes in. Sometimes the first wave is small compared to the second and third waves, or even fourth and fifth waves, depending on how big the tsunami is. But that's with water on the surface. We are talking about waves in the crust. And waves in the crust are VLF, very low frequency, like radio waves almost. And this VLF travels through the crust, and it follows the plate boundaries. So it's following the cracks in the crust. And here, I would warn right now for an additional 6.5 to be incoming in the next few days. When I say few, I usually mean 3. So we'll say within the next 3 days, on top of everything else that's going on, you're going to go back up to 6.5. From 5s, back up to 6. 6.5, that's a magnitude and a half increase. Now, 3 days from today, that would put us to the 23rd into the 24th. So my time, 23rd, end of the 23rd, into the 24th, I would watch for this to happen by Friday night, just in case. Now, we hope it's less. We hope it's less. But why am I warning now? The big, deep quake on top of our forecast. This is our forecast reiterated again for you so that you can hear it again if you're a new viewer or someone that's just now tuning in from Indonesia. The last 3 times we've issued the warnings, they've hit. Within 7 to 8 days of issuing the warning, the earthquakes have hit. This last time, it took 8 days, not 7. So here we are. We are on day 1 into day 2 of a 7 to 10 day watch from this. Again, the biggest, deepest earthquake we've ever seen. I am in uncharted waters when it comes to knowing what to expect from this. I can already tell you, I want you to look at it this way. In the last day, day and a half since this big quake, half the planet has spread out with 5s, and this is no exaggeration, spreading out all the way over to Turkey and all the way over to South America. So what's the distance from South America to Turkey? It's 3/4 of the planet. So this only has a short step to go out to the west, and that leads me into the rest of this update. Indonesia, next 3 days, you know what to watch for, okay? One final thing, in between these 2 spots, here and here, right in the middle, we have a new eruption at Mount Krakatau. Again, the direct middle point, the fulcrum point, has a volcano erupting in between the 2 sets of quakes. Just in case you guys wanted any further confirmation on middle fulcrum points coming under pressure, there's a lone 3.4 next to it to indicate that the volcano is erupting. Hey, for my Aussie viewers down here in Australia, well, yesterday you were dealing with a 3 down here on the south tip of Australia over to the east, right down here. Well, now look over next to Perth. You've got a new 2.8. about the same sized. I think you were dealing with a 3 yesterday, 3.3 maybe at the most, but 3 yesterday and a 2.8 today. Why? Australia's being displaced. Why is Australia being displaced? Well, somebody asked me last night, they said, why is Australia being displaced? I live here. Well, guys, it's like a giant brick. It's just a giant block. And it gets displaced, but it takes many levers underneath it to push it. So imagine a few people trying to move a boulder, and then they get levers and they put them underneath the boulder and they all pull at once. Okay, it will take many arms, but you will move the boulder. Same thing applies for this giant plate, and you can see which way it has been pushed for a long time. So this side is raised, this side is depressed, or a basin, or lower. So higher, lower. This side has been pushed up, this side is pushed down. A buckling from the northwest. Why? When you get deep earthquakes like this, pushing up on the underside of Australia. That's why you're moving now. Now for my New Zealand viewers, guys, what more do you need? We've got a spread of 5s in the course of a day, spreading across 3/4 of the planet. That lets you know how much force we're dealing with here. But you're also dealing with something else on your own right, which is a 750-kilometer deep earthquake in the Kermadec. Now, again, we're dealing with something I've never seen before. We have not seen earthquakes this deep in this location, ever. So what do we base on? Well, we can't have anything to base it on. This is our first go-around at 750 km deep earthquakes here in the Kermadec, north of New Zealand. Now, I can tell you, the last 750 km deep earthquake, there's only been, well, I shouldn't say this is the only one. They happened back-to-back. There was one a day ago. So we've only seen 2 750 km deep earthquakes, and both of them happened in the last day. Where? Both right here. Well, one right here and one right here. Now, the first one came right before this big 8.0. So first there was a 750 kilometer deep earthquake, then the big deep 8.0 hit. Now we have another one. Is that going to result in another large earthquake? I don't know. I have nothing to base it on. I'm watching the look. And look who's so close. Look who's so close to this. New Zealand, of course. So we already have New Zealand, based upon the 8.0 to the north and the 5 spreading out and the expected activity. We have New Zealand warned for up to a 6.7 to be striking off the eastern coast of the central North Island. That's for this week. I hope I'm wrong. But I'm basing it on something, again, that I've never had to base anything on before. So is it going to be accurate or not? I don't know. This is going to determine how we treat deep 8.0s from now on. So it's better to be safe than sorry. That's why we're issuing warnings now. That's basically where we're at with this. Down in New Zealand, that's why we're issuing the warning for you. Better safe than sorry. You got a big, deep earthquake to your north. What's it going to do? We don't know. So we'd like you to be on watch. And the reason I named it at 6.7, I added everything together and then just put them as if they're shallow. That's the way I did it. So I just took it. I said, okay, if we have an 8 to the north normally, then we would probably see a mid-range 6 that far down to the south at New Zealand. So in other words, we're going to wait and see what actually happens, and I want you to be ready down there. So North Island, that's where we're watching, and if a big earthquake hits in that magnitude, you'll feel it all across the North Island, down to Wellington, up to Auckland. Okay, so that's just kind of where we're starting with this. Now, let's jump over here and go up into Japan. Japan, you guys got hit where? Downtown Tokyo, or just north of downtown Tokyo. We'll show you. In case you guys don't know, we had people in this location on watch, and we told you force was going to be coming in. This is a little bit less, but then again, this is just day 1. We'll wait and see what happens by the end of the week, but already on day 1, we're seeing a movement happen. The only spot to record an earthquake. Look where it is. Check it out. Here's Tokyo. So we're 23 miles north of Tokyo, in case you're wondering. We measured it earlier, and so we're 23 miles off from downtown Tokyo. This is the center of downtown Tokyo, and I think Tokyo actually extends out to here anyways. It's like a suburb of Tokyo where the earthquake has struck. So 4.2 there, and then last night's 4.5 up on the coast of Fukushima. Okay, now let's jump over to Middle East and Europe. 5.0 striking in the Gulf of Aden, or the mouth of it. Now look at our fracture zone here. 1 goes up to the north, up into Iran. You see it? It's like a shadowy mountain range. And then over to the west, we go into the Gulf of Aden and in the Red Sea, which then connects up through Israel, Syria, Jordan, and all the way up through to the north, up into Turkey. So we have no earthquakes reported across China, right? Last night's 4.8 was the last. Well, over to the west, as if we needed any more proof that pressure transfers to the west, another new deep earthquake popped up on our letter D. Look where it is, guys. It is smack in the middle of the tip of our arrow. So in the middle of the tip of the arrow, we'd get a new deep earthquake at 250 kilometers deep. Let's go consult our depth to magnitude conversion chart, 250. So that's going to be over on the left-hand side of the chart. So 250, well, we need to add on 0.5 magnitude to this. And thanks to Bella and Rebecca for this chart. And if we add on 0.5 magnitude to this takes us up to 4.9 to 5.0 earthquake. So there's a likely 4.9 to 5 to strike next to this 4.4 in the next few days over in Iran on the plate boundary. Now, at the same time that's going on, this 5 is going to be going up into South Europe. And South Europe, man, you want to talk about lighting up today? Look what happened. New 4.0 activity broke out in north-central Italy. Now, we had a warning going to Norcia, and it struck up here near Florence. So we're right next to Genoa. Genoa's right here on the coast, guys, and Genoa's where the bridge collapsed. I just have to point that out. But we have to go look this up. Let's go pull this information. Let's get the USGS plate boundary map open here. We're just going to pull any earthquake from the USGS and open the map. Okay, there's the Japan earthquake. Now take a look at these red lines that go all the way around the planet. I'm going to zoom in here on Europe, and you're going to see the red line goes up across Israel, just like I told you. It goes up across Israel, Jordan, and all the way up into Turkey. Then it makes a hard west and goes over across the south side of Crete and Greece and bends up into Italy. Now watch where the red line goes. It goes up across East Italy and dead ends in between Torino and Milan. And then this is the Alps, of course. Now the earthquake, let's go pull our coordinates on this. The earthquake is striking right in the middle of that plate boundary line. You see how it goes right through the valley there? There's no doubt about it. So on this earthquake actually came from the south. It came up the plate boundary and is heading towards the dead end. And it released right here at the dead end. But it's not fully done yet. It's going to transfer across the rest of Europe, which it already has. Take a look at what else hit. We got a new 2.2 up here just south of the English Channel, a new 2.7 up off the coast of Norway, and a new 4.0 rare earthquake on the western coast of Spain, as well as 3s going out west, out past Portugal. So where did the 4 come from? Well, it's the same place that the 4 in Italy came from. These 4s are being dropped off along the way as the force is distributing itself out across the plate. So look at all our bigger what more do we need? And let's get the timing on these. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so this one struck first, this one struck second, 5 minutes apart. Yeah, 5 minutes apart. So, same time. These happen at the same time, basically. We could just basically say, arrival times, same time. So, 4.2, 4.0, within 5 minutes of one another, this one's striking first, this one's striking second. Now, it's not that this is moving from here to here, it's that both of these are dropped off along the way as the force flows out to the west. It's that the whole region shifted at once. Now, what could shift a whole region at once? How about a series of deep earthquakes that just happened right below Italy yesterday? So a series of deep earthquakes struck. We already told you to watch for this. Now, we're looking for a little bit larger. We're looking for 1 magnitude larger. 1 magnitude larger. Today is day 1 of the forecast. Day 1. And Italy already gets smacked around by 4.2 activity and swarmage. Then it spreads out across Europe on day 1. Is this all she wrote? I hope so. I hope so. This would mean we're 1 magnitude off, which is good. But there it is. It's been a minute. So now you're hit back where that 5.3 struck, and that's right next to the bridge collapse location. We have to remember that. The bridge collapse happened after the area east of Venice moved. Let me show you. Let me show you. We'll go over to Europe. There we go, and bring it north. So up here is Genoa over here on the coast and the big bridge that collapsed over there. Well, here's that plate boundary that I was just telling you about. Okay, you guys can see this all. Here's the plate boundary. And the first earthquake struck right over here at the border of Slovenia, Croatia, and North Italy. And it was a 4.4 to 4.5. Then, a day and a half later, almost 2 days later, then the bridge collapsed in Genoa. Then a new earthquake, 5.3, struck down here to the south. Right? Now we have a new 4.2 in swarm up here on the plate boundary to the north. It's moving. The whole plate boundary is in motion, and the whole southern portion of Europe got pushed. And that's why North France gets hit, that's why the coast of Spain gets hit, and it's not done that in a minute. It's actually been a few weeks, or maybe even a month or so, since we've seen this happen. Now, out to the west, out at the Azores, Iceland, North Pole, you can certainly expect there's force coming out of Europe. It's coming your way. All three X's should get hit, but I think the predominance is going to Iceland this week. Talked about that in the forecast. Now, let's jump back across the Pacific and go over to South America, where the tip of our arrow started to light up. Why did the tip of the arrow start to light up? Again, all we need to do is go back a day, and force was flowing across from our big earthquake. So this earthquake struck before. We can get that out of there. Here we are. Galapagos starting to get hit right next to Sierra Negra volcano. And over to the east, we have new activity at Reventador. And these are the same size. Look, 3.2 and 3.2. That's no coincidence. Now, I know it's a huge distance apart, but the reason that the 3.2 and 3.2 are striking across at both volcanoes is there's this incoming wave of pressure. This is the first wave. So a first wave puts everything out of order. It dishevels everything. And the first wave from this big, deep quake. So over to the north, same size quakes. Then a new 3.5 filled in. Now this comes in next to Sanjay volcano, or very close to it. So Sanjay may be getting ready to come back alive. I don't know, guys. Sanjay was a few weeks ago. Now it's coming back. Going over to the east, our letter X was hit, and I'm going to call this a 5. Come on, USGS 4.9, Society striking again. Look, there's a 5 to the south. It's a 5 in the middle. They can play around with the points all they want. It's a 5 and a 5 on both X's, right on the X. X marks the spot. You can trace that back to the previous push that happened, which was a 6.1 and a 5.6. So look what really happened here. To me, this is somewhat cool or amazing to see. You can understand how Mother Nature is transferring this out. It goes from 6.1 down to 5.6 over here, down to a, well, let's wait for it to refresh. There we go. Down to a 4.9. I got to get the older earthquakes out of there. There we go. Down to a 4.9. So really, it goes 6.1, 5.6, 5.0. It lost a half magnitude or 0.6 magnitude, going from here all the way underneath the plate and hitting here. But it's not done there. Now that a new 5 is struck there, guess what's going to happen? It's going to recycle through the planet and come out on the antipode with a new deep earthquake. We're having a feedback, like a feedback loop. It's going into the system and coming back out, and going into the system and coming back out. And it's increasing in speed, it's increasing in amplitude, and it's increasing in power each time it goes through. And the more force and push we get going one way, all the way out, goes to the mid-Atlantic ridge, it transfers back through the planet and starts the cycle over again. And it's a cycle. It's like a tidal force, a flow that's happening. Okay, now let's go look at Central America. How about a drop-off in activity today? Well, that's not normal. To go from where we were a day ago, which was all across Central America, to next to nothing, a 4.0 and 3.6, I think we need to start looking at what's coming across. That if you get cut off here and there's a new flow coming, think of this like a flash flood coming down a river. And this is the flow, these are the banks of the river. And the force is going to be transferring across and coming your way. We could be looking at an extremely large earthquake in Mexico that was not forecast in my Sunday night forecast from last night, based upon this new direction or trajectory that we don't normally see. Again, we have 2 small arrows here instead of 2 large ones. The 2 small arrows indicate it doesn't normally happen that much, right? The 2 big arrows, that's the normal path. This path is only coming from major disturbances. And major disturbance spreading out, going towards where? It's going towards Central America at this moment. How do I know? How do I know it's going towards Central America? This earthquake. the path that this is taking. There's a fracture zone here, goes right past the arrow, and carries right on over into Mexico. And that's where our only earthquakes are today, indicating that there's a direct quote-unquote conduit. Hey, big shout out to 40, conduit. A conduit going through the area. Now, it may be almost a piezoelectric type energy, but VLF, guys, VLF, standing waves. If you don't understand standing waves, go watch any one of my other videos, and we will explain it to you in depth in one of the other videos, okay? So, let's go out to Hawaii. See what's going on out here. A 2.1. That's it? What a drop-off. We had, what, 5,000 earthquakes in 3 days' time? No more than a month ago, and now here we are, and we're at one earthquake. And the one earthquake is at Kilauea. But if you go over to look at Kilauea, let's take this back throughout the day. Let's go back like 3 or 4 hours and just take a quick look. Take a look at this. So, going back, we saw a series of steam puffs or emissions coming from the center of the crater. Then the storms blew in, and you guys know that Hawaii's under the gun for some superstorm activity, right? Well, you can look throughout the course of the day, and what you're going to see is this dramatic steam coming up, and then it causes cloud formation up above the crater. And it keeps doing this. There's a great amount of steam coming up, and as the steam comes up, it is forming into clouds. There's that much. But the steam is being generated by heat. And of course, where's the heat coming from? The heat is coming from, let's go out and show you the Hawaiian Islands here. The heat is coming from below Kilauea caldera. Well, if I could get it on the screen here, jeez. Come on, Google. Choppy. Man, this thing's going slow. Okay. Google servers. Right? It's not me. I'm screaming. I'm screaming fast. So let's go take a look. What's here? This is Kilauea, and this is how it used to look. I talk about it every night. I know it's getting old for some people who are international, but this is for my Hawaiian viewers. So this is what it used to look like, guys. You used to be able to go up there to the HBO observatory and do the tourist thing, look down and see the crater and see the lava lake. And it was organized. It was a flat-topped caldera and a flat-topped crater that had new spillouts that occurred over the top. And it would lay new layer upon new layer. And this was the lava lake fed by tubes that go down to the magma chamber. That's how it used to look. Well, we can go over now, and actually, let's do that. Let's go over to the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. Come over and check out their page. And they're on watch mode. Mount Doom there, all-seeing eye of Sauron. And we'll go over here and check out their statement, which is just next to nothing. You can just go ahead and pause it and read it if you need to. It basically says nothing. And that's okay because nothing's going on, right? So let's go over and take a look at the video. The unmanned aircraft system, the drone team, assessed conditions at Fissure 8 Cone and Upper Lava Channel on August 17, 2018. Time of the flight, the lava pond within the cone had crusted over with no observed incandescence. Well, let's take a look. Droney McDrones. Or the Unmanned Aerial System. I love it. UAS. Is that what we can call them now to get around the law? I'm not flying a drone. I'm flying an unmanned aerial system. Okay. So, look at that. Look at the red and black cinders. That is what we would call igneous rock. That is lava rock. Fresh lava rock. Yeah, it's completely crusted over. This thing was vigorously flowing and spattering, creating that cone that you see there, several hundred feet high. And now it's nothing more than a crusted over, leftover remnant of the... Oh, look at that. Wow. Oh, man, that's cool. Okay, well, anyways, enough eye candy. Let's go down and look and see what else is going on. This morning, USGS scientists flying over Fissure 8 noticed a change in the vent from yesterday. Gas jets were throwing spatter, fragments of glass, light gray deposits from small incandescent areas deep within the cone. This activity is an indication that the Lower East Rift Zone eruption may be paused rather than over. Okay, that's possible. It's totally possible. And you know what else is possible, too? A new influx of pressure to come in and totally send this thing through the roof. Where could an influx of pressure come in from? Anybody know? Anyone? 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 Bueller? Anyone know where some pressure could come from that could maybe reignite things back up in Hawaii and send it into a further downward spiral, or at least a further collapse event? I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. That if you get this much force created below the plate, a planet-wide disturbance, 3/4 of the planet's moving, we have to have standing wave after standing wave forming down in the magma down below the plate. You can imagine that the asthenosphere is just a jostling mess right now, which is going to cause some activity to kick back up at Hawaii when it comes to the volcano. Now, the real question is, will it cause a rise in pressure and a blast out of here? See, there's so much steam and heat coming out of here now, you gotta ask, why is there so much steam and heat coming out? Why are we not getting any pictures of the inside of the crater? Let's go down and see if they've got them. Do they have any? No. The last ones they've done is, look, the last one they've done, it's even fallen off the feet. I can't even show you the picture of the inside of the crater anymore. Now they just got this one. I think it was August 7th was the last time that they showed us any inside of the crater. And that's where that yellow deposit was, down on the inside, guys, which I showed to you over and over again in the last several videos. Now that picture's gone off the feed. I'd have to go try and find it somehow in the Kilauea archive. Well, okay. Meanwhile, they're showing us empty craters and empty, dead lava flows, while not showing us the interior portion of Kilauea, where that yellow deposit was. Yellow equals sulfur, sulfur equals magma, magma equals heat, heat creating steam, magma, heat, steam, sulfur. Lack of earthquakes indicates magma coming back up inside, stabilizing the underside of the crater. And if you're starting to get spatter to come back outside, back out of Fissure 8, that would indicate new pressure being created inside of the magma chamber, would it not? And it could totally break out again. As new magma increases inside of the chamber, could get right back to the point where it broke first and break free again. Same spot and everything. But all that would do is buy you a rain check. That would just be putting off the inevitable, which is eventually it's going to come back up and fill inside and blow out. Now the sulfur and steam and excessive heat, that's now enough heat coming out to cause cloud formation above the crater, that an instant cloud formation indicating great amount of heat and a fair amount of particulate matter coming up that we just can't see, either dust or steam or something, that's causing that cloud formation to happen. Okay, well, I mean, come on, what more do we need? Now, while they're putting their fingers in their ears, and I don't know what they're telling the public here. If I lived in Volcano, if I lived anywhere around Volcano, Eden Rock, Fern Forest, these areas right here, those people would need to be on board and let them know there's rebuilding pressure down below the crater. How do we know? Well, new spattering over at Fissure 8 today, and steam, sulfur, heat coming out of the top of here now. Much more. How do we know sulfur's coming out? Well, about something about the size of a ranch house covered in yellow sulfur deposits down at the bottom. How about that? How about, since we noticed that, hush hush from the USGS. How about, I'm not trying to cause any problems for anybody, I'm just showing what you showed me and everybody else in the world. I just zoomed in on the picture and found it. It's not my fault. It's not my fault you guys missed it over there, or maybe they didn't miss it. I'd like to think that they did. You know what I mean? It's such a fine detail to notice. You'd have to really get out, you know, and look at it. You'd have to sit there and look at it for a few hours. Maybe they don't have staff that's sitting there and looking at the picture for a few hours. Maybe they thought it was a good representation and just put it up there. But then I get a hold of it, I analyze it, I look at it, I show you guys, it causes a big stink for them out in Hawaii. Ha, big stink sulfur. Nope, no pun intended. But it causes a big mess for them out in Hawaii. They don't want to answer questions. Next thing you know, they cut everything. You know, I mean, I just don't want to think that that's what's going on. But it could be Occam's razor. I mean, which is it? Is it they're not noticing the sulfur inside, or they're being told not to talk about it? I don't like applying Occam's razor to political situations, but that's kind of what we have to do. Okay, so that's Hawaii. Now, let's get out here and look at the United States. The reason I always do the United States last on this, in case you guys don't know, is because the United States is always the last to get the brunt of this force. And if you don't know what we're looking for this week, I think you're going to need to go watch the forecast, because that's a whole nother hour-long video where we're telling you where to watch for 8s, 7s, 6s, 5s, and 4s going out around the entire plate across the planet. So if you're from Europe, you want to know what to look for, guys, go watch my forecast. If you're from Indonesia, I already told you, I kind of just gave you the reiteration of my forecast. If you're in any one of these areas, I'm going to encourage you to go watch it. Again, it takes way too long to explain everything every time. So, for the United States, here's what I want you to look at. Look at our progression of quakes across the plate in the last day. Now you're going to notice up here there's a 2.2. This is really interesting because it's a quarry blast that they haven't taken off the feed. But again, it's just very strange that they haven't taken it off the feeds. So we have a quarry blast up to the northwest, but then down here to the south at Yellowstone at the volcano, we get a similar sized earthquake, 2.1. This is on the edge of the magma chamber coming out of Yellowstone National Park itself, technically on the edge of the Tetons north of Jackson Hole. And then here to the east-southeast, a new 2.6 back at where they're doing the new drilling and exploration coming out of Nebraska. Now, if you don't know about the drilling and exploration or any of that stuff, let me quickly show you. We're going to go turn on our 0.0 and greater earthquake feed for the day. This is going to highlight a few more quakes that struck in Missouri, here in my neck of the woods, down on the New Madrid seismic zone. A small little swarm of microquakes, zeros and ones, breaking out. Now that's small. Why are we getting hit by small quakes? I'll explain in a second, but, well, simply put, it's coming out of the Midwest. It's coming out of the pumping operations that go across Oklahoma and Kansas, Nebraska. So we'll start with this 1.8 right here in the middle of Oklahoma at a place called Guthrie, Oklahoma. Now it's just a small earthquake. This is the leftover remnants of the 3s that hit 2 days ago. That's why the New Madrid is getting hit now. We had 3s at this spot I'm getting ready to show you a day ago and 2 days ago. And then it transferred over to the east into the New Madrid. Whatever's left over transferred over to the east. Now we're at a microwave tower. Whoa, my old self might actually get involved with that. But really, I want to draw your attention to the pumping operations to the north. These are drill points. Now, they're labeled as frac wells because that's what this is. It's a wastewater disposal operation, but fracking gets the bum rap for it, and I'm the guy who brought fracking earthquakes out there, so I'm entitled to say this. Fracking got the bum rap, and really, it's just drill points. Whether we're talking about oil, gas, geothermal, even dry drill points, where they're just doing an exploratory and they don't inject and they're just going down to see what's going on. You go down a few hundred to a few thousand feet in certain points on the plate, it's just like perforating the edge of a piece of stone. And you apply pressure to it, next thing you know, you start getting earthquakes releasing at these spots. Okay, so, and I've said this for a long time, that the pressure that's coming across the plate, if they hadn't drilled here, would normally go right over into the New Madrid seismic zone and build up and release here. Why? Because it's an N-shaped bend. It's like a curlicue in the plate. It's too sharp of a bend in the plate for this force to flow past. So think of it this way, if a car is traveling straight down a road and it gets to a sharp turn, it has to slow down, otherwise momentum will maintain and the car will go off the edge of the road. Well, this is a force trapped in the ground on a track, so to speak. When it comes in here, it gets trapped in here. It can't go up and around the bend. It's too steep of a curve. Now, this is the Mississippi River Valley. Do not confuse this with the edge of the craton. Now, let me show you the edge of the craton one more time. Pick your favorite state and look at the craton graphic. Now, compare the craton graphic to the edge of the plate, the interior portion, where the brown meets the purple. That's the mountain ranges that we're looking at here on Google Earth, isn't it? And look how it goes down to the south and bends into a U across the southern states of Alabama and Mississippi, right here and here. Okay, so the craton goes all the way up the east coast and all the way down through the south. Goes back up into the New Madrid seismic zone into our N-shaped bend, then goes across Arkansas here, where it makes a bend to the south through Dallas. This is Dallas, Texas. Here I can turn our borders and labels back on. Here's Fort Worth, Dallas. The bend in the craton goes further to the south, down here. And this is a 1,000-foot rise. This is a giant bulge here, guys. So this is not a river. This is not a depression. That's like mountain ranges, foothills that rise across central Texas. And the craton edge then makes a bend, another U-shaped bend, and goes up into New Mexico, up into Colorado, and all the way up along the edge into Yellowstone. So we're backing this out. Take a look at it one more time. You'll see our earthquakes match with that craton edge perfectly. There's no debating it. It matches the edge perfectly. So, if the craton is being displaced, where's it being displaced from? All we have to do is go back in time for a day and see that the activity that came out of Yellowstone and up to the northwest pushed the Midwest. Now, we're not talking about a physical push across the plate. We're talking about seismic forces. Again, the VLF that is associated with this, that drops off the earthquakes along the way in a standing wave. Now, a standing wave, again, you have to go watch my other videos on that, and I'll explain again in the future if you want to know. But tonight, we're just looking at the progression of quakes coming down the edge of the craton from the northwest, going across Yellowstone. So the northwest edge of the craton is moving. The middle portion of the craton is moving. The only spot that needs to move is the east coast. Now we go over here on the west coast, and it looks like we're building into something off the coast. The slow slip today has died out in the Pacific Northwest. Let me go show that to you. Let's close these other windows. So here's 48 hours worth of tremors. You see all these little red dots? These are all small microquakes or tremors that are associated with the plate shifting. So there's no fracturing occurring. It's actually shifting of the plate and vibration. Now it's in a line, a diagonal line, starting up here at Vancouver Island, and then goes down across Washington, Oregon, Northern California, and it looks like it stops in Northern California at Redding, where there's 3 distinct pockets across North Sacramento Valley. Well, it doesn't stop there. It carries on down to the south, but it picks up with earthquakes. So where we drop off with tremors, small vibrations, we actually pick up with actual fractures in the plate or in the crust. So here, for instance, this place is called Geysers, California, and it's a geothermal pumping operation. Now, I've looked it up so many times in the past. It's a volcano as well, called Clear Lake Volcanic Field in Mount Konocti. And here it is. Okay, good looking. Here, let me shut some of this. Looks like we're lagging out a little bit. Okay, so here we are, and we are right here on the edge of the geothermal pumping operation. You can see the turbines and the pipelines, which connect to drill points that go down into the volcano, and those are the weak points in the crust. Remember what I said? Fracking caught the horns on it, but really, it's every drill point. Now, you can't blame the geothermal company here, for instance, okay? Like, I don't even know what they are. They're some kind of power company or something, electric, all right? They're not doing anything wrong, all right? The geologist who gave them advice when they told them how much they could drill and where to drill and at what depth and what pressure would apply and all kinds of complex elasticity calculations for absorption of rock. And I mean, there's all kinds of stuff they did to figure out where to drill and how much. Well, it turns out a lot of that is incorrect. So it's not, you know, some suit in an office somewhere saying, oh, we got to drill and make earthquakes. It's even worse than that. The geophysics professionals who advised these people, who got paid probably billions of dollars collectively over years to advise on these things, advised wrong. Based upon, I hate to laugh about it, but advised wrong based upon bad science over many years and dogmas and other things that just, well, we've now disproved, debunked. We've debunked a lot of the old ideas in geophysics when it relates to earthquakes and how they're not related, and there's earthquakes are random. And there's no pressure transfer across distances, and I mean, come on, all that has been debunked. So we go down from geysers where there's a volcano, and we go down along the coast. And along the coast, we have the creeping section of the San Andreas. And again, today, the southern portion of this is the biggest movement. This is 2 days in a row where it's not holding to what we normally see. So we have a 1.2 and 1.6 on the north side, 1.4, 0.7 in the middle, 1.6, and a 2 to the south. So it would appear a little bit of force is coming down the creeping section right now. Again, this is the youngest earthquake, and it's the biggest. Maybe even the combined total of everything up here. Let's add it up. Let's see, 1.6, 1.2, 1.4. Yeah, I mean, this equals about a 2.0's worth of activity. When you get a bunch of ones, it can equal a 2. It can't. So, but you get mid-range and upper ones, it could even equal more. Now we jump across over to the border of California. This all looks like not much, right? Compared to where we were. And you'd be right if you guessed that. It isn't that much. These are all small earthquakes, and they're small clusters. We were really swarming out a few days ago. Now that all transferred. Now this is a volcano called Mammoth Mountain. There's a geothermal pumping operation at this location as well. Across the border is Aurora Bodie Crater. So we can go over to Mammoth Lakes, next to Mammoth Mountain Volcano, and show you the pumping operations. So again, we're going from one geothermal pumping operation to another geothermal pumping operation. How do we know it's a geothermal pumping operation? Here's the turbines, and here's the pipelines. And the pipelines spread out from this to drill points that go down into the magma chamber. Or not into it, above it. So we're right next to that at Whitmore Hot Springs. Now this is the middle of Long Valley Caldera. This is now, here let me turn on our place marks. This has now been identified as a supervolcano. It's the newest identified supervolcano on the planet. They just identified it in the past week and a half to 2 weeks. And we've been saying this for years. And here it is. Long Valley is now Long Valley Supervolcano. And right next to it is, I would say, another. See, they only got half this right. This is how you know that they're just lagging behind. This is the supervolcano they just identified with 240 cubic miles of melt down below. But here, right next to it, same size. And I just think they haven't done the appropriate earth-penetrating tomography measurements here. They'll find out either it's connected or it's the same. But if you take both of them and put them together, same size as Yellowstone. So this is half the size of Yellowstone supervolcano here. And this is a half the size of Yellowstone volcano here. Makes sense, this one would be a supervolcano too, wouldn't it? They're right next to each other. They're the same shape. Again, I'd have to throw that out there. That is not a study. That is just something I'm throwing out there. So let's go over to the east, and we have a spattering of zeros reaching out across southern Nevada. And this goes down a little bit, but I want to go pull the earthquake right in the middle, and then we'll branch out in all directions from here. 49 kilometers east-northeast of Beatty, Nevada. Nevada, look at what we're going to look at. Longtime viewers, new viewers, guess what we're getting ready to show you? Nuclear test sites. Now, they're not doing underground nukes now, don't worry. But this spot has fractures in the crust from all the underground nuke tests that occurred here. So let's get our Google Earth community turned on. And they've done a pretty good job of identifying all these. And we can try and get some of the information, like U.S. nuke Operation Bevel, April 4th, 1968, unlisted kiloton detonation. We could sit here all day and get the names on all these and then go look them up. A lot of them do have information, and a lot of them don't. You got to get the information from the Google Earth community, and if you do, like this one, U.S. nuke Operation Finfoot 5 kilotons. We've seen everything from 5 to 200, 300 kiloton detonations identified throughout here. Now, next to this is where the earthquake is. Here's the earthquake. Well, these are a series of other test sites. So, USA Mandrel Diamond Dust, May 12, 1970, less than 20 kilotons. Okay, so we're right on the flanks of a spot where they did many tests. What is this? U.S. nuke Operation Buggy? Do we have any information on it? Interesting. Okay, well, anyways, this is a big-time nuclear test site. They've done many tests there, and that's the spot that's getting hit. That's just in the middle, and I just showed you the valley goes over to the east, to the north, to the south, to the west, and spreads out all the way over here where we let the UK and France do theirs. Now down to the south, on the California side of the border, we go down next to the Ryan Craters. So let's go look this up. 54 kilometers south-southwest of Beatty, Nevada. And we've got a negative magnitude. Negative magnitude 0.1. Mistake? Nope. Small earthquake? Nope. Let me show you what's there. They started listening. Hey, 40. 40, are you listening? I hope, because they started listening. Here we are at Furnace Creek. Now, this is like a Death Valley type location. But make note of what we're next to. We're next to a split cinder cone. Now, split cinder cones occur along areas where there are faults and there's eruptive activity on both sides. So that's a split cinder cone. We're right next to the Ryan craters. And this is an old geothermal pumping operation. Now, they've moved all the pads. Why did they move all the pads? Apparently, this is many years ago. I don't have an exact date on it. I'm thinking the 1960s, maybe 70s. But apparently, they were drilling here, and they hit something, and it caused a complete outgassing. So, and then they lost the aquifer and the steam that was coming out, or I don't know. Something happened at this spot. I mean, it wasn't a huge disaster. It was just they ran out of steam. So, Ryan Volcanic Complex, Ryan Craters, and we got a negative quake there. Well, wouldn't a negative, and we were talking about this the other night, that if negative quakes weren't a mistake, wouldn't it be sucking in energy instead of putting it off? So you get a negative magnitude. Well, wouldn't that mean it's sucking in energy? Well, I mean, logically speaking, if you didn't throw it out as a mistake, yeah, I guess you could maybe think that it would be, but that would be a complete rewrite of everything we know. And I don't know, it's just something that we need to look at. It's the nuclear test sites do it too. So these old volcanic locations and old nuclear test sites both are showing negative earthquakes. I don't know. Again, we were talking about this behind the scenes just within the past couple days on Discord. And now they're listing negative quakes finally on the public feed. Okay. As we go down to the south, we're leaving the Ryan craters. Let's go in and look at this one. Magnitude 0.9. Okay. We can deal with that one. It's at Kozo Junction. Anybody know what's at Kozo Junction? Anyone? Anyone? Here we are. Okay, well, here's the earthquake coordinates right here. We're next to an unmarked volcano. I put a place mark here just to make note of it. So you can tell my place marks with the yellows. And over to the west, though, Volcano Peak is the main player here. And Kozo Volcanic Junction, right here, with its geothermal pumping operation. Another set of drill points going into another volcano to get steam, to pull out that steam and turn those turbines. And another set of quakes right next to it. Now we can skip over the Mojave because these are quarry blasts going on today. I guess they did a whole bunch of blasting out here today. They do borax, some kind of mining operation out there in the desert. And this one, though, this 2.0, let's go look it up. 7 kilometer deep, down here next to Tehachapi. Well, what's at Tehachapi? Right next to Tehachapi, we have not a geothermal pumping operation and not a volcano. We're going right back to one of our pumping operations. Now, these are houses, okay? So, again, don't get it confused. Down below, 7 kilometers down below this location. But what's right next to it? A large oil patch that begins here, goes down to the south, and picks back up and up to the north. So, here's the oil patch. And again, I apologize, guys. We're waiting for this to load. Whoops. There, that might speed things up. Okay, so here we go. All the oil patches that exist out here, they get pretty big. This is actually evenly spaced. So it's equal distance spaced. Like I said, oil, gas, geothermal, drill points are vulnerable when pressure is exerted on the plate. And they will drill, sometimes, in some cases, up to 5 miles. Now, I don't know if they drill up to 5 miles in California. I know they do that in the Midwest. Now, they may only go a mile or two, in which case that would put us, the drill points that could be lateral, could be anywhere along here. Now, they may have other wells spread out here. I do not know if there are wells spread across these outside outlier areas. I'll have to do a little bit more investigation to see if I can find any. I wouldn't be surprised if this oil field isn't all there is, and there's more back up here, at least around the earthquake itself. So we're close enough. We always look within 6 to 10 miles for pumping operations. Now we get down into LA, into the LA basin. Brea, California. La Brea? No, Brea. Brea? Brea. Brea? Bra? California, you guys and your names. Now, I've heard of the La Brea tar pits before. Is this nearby there? Let's go find out. Oh, no, wait, we don't even have to go that far. We're right next to an oil pumping operation. So we've got ourselves another pumping operation getting hit, a microquake right next to it. And we've got our oil and frack. So they're doing oil and frack here. And where are the La Brea tar pits? I don't even have it marked here. They're somewhere around, aren't they? It wouldn't surprise me. There's another set of pumps and wells here. So there's lots of oil and natural petroleum-type products down in the ground here. And all you need to do is just kind of go scan the area, and you'll find all the wells. Here, let me see if I can... Well, as I say that, this one right here is like missing most of the wells. Oh, by the way, that's something else that you'll see happen. They'll move operations every few years sometimes. They'll move, let's say every 10 years, you might see a few wells get moved. And sometimes they'll move a whole operation, like, for instance, here, Baldwin Hills. Eventually, they'll be moving this out of here, and this will become prime real estate. But there's a lot of oil and gas still down below, enough to keep this open for drilling and oil production in the middle of LA, where real estate is the most expensive probably in the world or close to it. Now we get down to Southern California itself. We come out of LA Basin and we get down to the slow slip in Southern California. Look at this stack of quakes. The cumulative total of everything that came down through California has pooled up and built up here on the San Jacinto Fault. Now, the San Jacinto is right next to the San Andreas. Let me show this to you. Here we go. So, San Jacinto, San Andreas. Line meets up here to the north to Big Bear. Here's Big Bear, the lake. Hopefully you guys can see all this. Big Bear, the lake here. And then we have a line, a red line that goes all the way down and meets up at south of Salton Sea Volcano. And so, between Salton Sea Volcano and Big Bear, on this red line, we've had a movement going on for the last year and a half. And as this movement goes on this line, we'll see a shifting occur up to the north and down to the south, along where they both meet, where the San Andreas meets. Meanwhile, San Andreas remaining relatively quiet down here as the San Jacinto keeps doing this. So, side to side, this fault is moving, and the San Andreas is not. Well, it's like a spring building up pressure, and eventually, it's going to let loose. It's been going for a year and a half in the slow slip, as professionals call it. Now, a slow slip describes when one or more plates is in motion and tension builds between the two plates, and swarms start to release, or start to occur, but not release the pressure. So the swarms are just a byproduct of the building of the turning of the spring. And then eventually, the combined total of a year and a half's worth of spring building, or 2 years now almost, is released, according to professionals, on a nearby fault to where it sprung up to begin with. So if it's springing up on the San Jacinto, it's going to release either on the Elsinore or on the San Andreas, or somewhere very close to it. According to them, according to their articles, which are linked down below in the description on Twitch or on YouTube if you're watching. So ultimately, this is a sign of pressure coming down the coast and filling into Southern California. That's from our last push that we just had. But the rest of California is starting to go quiet a little bit, and up to the north, well, we haven't even talked about what happened up here in Washington. Well, we have a new increase in activity up in Washington. Not just anywhere, though. We need to go look these earthquakes up. We'll go pull the largest of the bunch, the 0.4 or 0.5. Just a half magnitude, but it's 37 kilometers north-northeast of Amboy, Washington. So why are we getting small earthquakes at this spot in Washington? Well, when you see what's there, I think it's going to make a little bit more sense. Please pay attention. Where are we going? We're going inside of the crater at Mount St. Helens. So Mount St. Helens crater, moving again, a new little swarm breaking out, and that's a rise in the center of the chamber. It's normal. Don't worry, it's not a sign of an eruption. It's just a sign of a little bit of pressure coming in as the plate is shifting. Now we're going to go 27 kilometers north-northwest of Packwood, Washington. So we're going from Mount St. Helens. Where are we going to? These are the only earthquakes today reported up here. We're going right below the crater at Mount Rainier. This is the crater of Mount Rainier, and you can see Mount Rainier from downtown Seattle. Anyways, we are right below the crater, and both craters are rising slightly as a new shift of perturbance is happening. Same reason that there's a line of earthquakes going down to Yellowstone and a big swarm that's finally hitting down in Southern California. There was pressure that has been transferred across the coast in the course of days. So, California, starting to go quiet here, slow slip starting to go quiet, means building pressure off the coast. And finally, before we go any further and before this broadcast even gets to the close to an end, we're telling you, we're going to watch out here, and we're still watching for 6.0 activity up to mid-range 6. It's possible. Once a mid-range 6 hits out here, next to Haida Gwaii, Vancouver Island, going down towards the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. Once it hits up here to the north, it will put pressure onto California, which then should cause 5.0 activity down south, down near LA. I hope I'm wrong. I really do, because last thing you need is a 5, getting your people all riled up over a 5. I mean, it is enough to cause damage, but with the rest of the plate going through the roof, it's prudent to pay attention. Like I said, I'm in uncharted waters when it comes to doing anything with an earthquake this size over in the West Pacific. So you've got to pay attention on your own. You're going to have to watch on your own. No one's going to do this for you. No professional is going to come out and waste their time or not waste their time to try and tell the public. And I'm not going to say fully that it's a waste of time, but I know we've made a difference. I'm 100% certain. So I don't know if it's going to be, beneficial or help the professionals at all to come out and warn people. It might cause them more of a headache than for them to think that it's worth. But for me, this is the name of the game. And for everybody who's over in Indonesia, everybody who's over in the West Pacific, look, it gets me in hot water to do forecasting for anybody on the planet. It's still a controversial issue, even though we're pushing it on a vanguard way. So please understand, this is a tricky territory for people to be doing because it's so controversial that all the professionals said earthquakes couldn't be forecast at all. They said it was impossible to even forecast one earthquake. Now the professionals are taking me to task, saying I'm not getting enough of them right. Oh, you got one? Okay, well, you got those other ones wrong. Oh, that disputes counts everything. Isn't that funny? So, yeah, we got them, though. I mean, if you really think about it, then we won the debate, because now they're debating whether or not how many I got right, whether or not, forecasting can be done. Are they repeating the test? This is my challenge to anyone out there who's open to science. Repeat the method. And if you want to know how to forecast an earthquake, you can just go watch my forecast from Sunday night, last night, where I clearly explain all the details behind how to forecast an earthquake. I published those details already publicly back in 2014 as well, so people can follow the method. And you should be able to start forecasting earthquakes on your own if you apply the principles that we've learned over the last 7 to 8 years of research. So, time now, 11:17 p.m. Before anybody goes anywhere, let me tell you what. You need an earthquake plan. You need an earthquake plan. Especially if you live along the lines where we show arrows progressing. There's millions, hundreds of millions, if not more, people that live in certain areas around here. Now, there's other spots that are completely desolate and isolated, where there's no one. But the spots where there are people, I want you to have a plan. I say it every night. I'm beating the drum every night. Have a plan, have a plan. But seriously, have a plan. This is what we call go time. Over in Indonesia, you guys got the warning previously. You had your plans dusted off. And this last earthquake that hit, only a few fatalities. But I would like to not have any. It's like a storm. If we can be aware of a storm coming our way, you don't ignore it. You hope the storm goes away. You hope the storm dies out. But you don't ignore the storm when it's dark clouds on the horizon. And this, I would call these dark clouds on the horizon. Now, we hope it will get zapped off and go away. But that usually doesn't happen. Problems like this don't go away. This is energy coming up through the plate. This isn't somebody giving us a hard time and we hope they go away. This is Mother Nature's force coming up through the plate and going to transfer out. It already has displaced 3/4 of the planet. Deep earthquakes cause shallower, larger earthquakes and more movement. For instance, Europe just moved on a 4.0 basis based upon the deep earthquakes down below it yesterday. This, we don't know what to expect, and I don't like not knowing. So because I don't know, I have to warn you for the potential of the high end, and the high end on this is 9.3. Did you hear me? The high end on this is 9.3 to come up from this deep 8.2. Where? Most likely next to the deep quake, in the middle of our silent zone over the last 48 hours. And what's the silent zone? There's only really 2 of them, but we talk about the whole Pacific. We have more, but the only 2 nearby silent zones are right next to the deep quake and 1 step over, next to Papua New Guinea. Those are the first 2 open silent slots. And if you have 2 slots to go in, is it going to go beyond the 2? I don't know. Again, uncharted waters. So we have to be on watch for all potentials on this big deep quake, including a complete fizzle. And I hope that's what happens, because if it doesn't come in less, then we're looking at a rough next 9 days, 8 days now. Still, next week, basically, rough, if this comes up like we think. And I'm not the only one thinking this. Well, you guys can go browse the internet now and see the people who are talking about this. So, you need an emergency kit. You need an emergency kit. Again, this is something I talk about a lot, but I would tell you again, please, will you develop an emergency kit? So not only do you need to take shelter during an earthquake, but you should have a bag that you put aside ahead of time, and I'm talking like now, so that you can use it in the future, with a few things in it to get you through a disaster for a day, 1 day. So it's not, you don't need the huge 20-year supply of food. We're talking about just first day. And a backpack that you can carry, so you don't want it to be very heavy. I would drop the canned goods and the meals ready to eat out the window and put in fruit roll-ups and Pop-Tarts, okay? Something lightweight and high energy to get you through the day. Now, you're not going to be wanting steak and potatoes on day 1, I guarantee it, especially if everything's destroyed. So you can skip the heavy stuff and put the lightweight things into your bag. Change of clothes, set of shoes, doesn't cost anything. Extra set of keys? Usually you should have an extra set of keys. If you don't, you're looking at a few bucks at the hardware store to get a copy of a key made. So you can put your keys in a bag and your other just main essential items. You might want to have a flashlight and batteries, extra ID, insurance, if you have any kind of insurance. Again, I say these all the night, every night. But you can think of better things. And you might even have more valuable things you want to protect, or things that you don't want to, have taken from people, when your house is busted open. You can put those things into a bag too, I guess. But just make sure it's lightweight and that you can take it out at a moment's notice. Everybody's different, but we all require a few things to survive, and that, of course, is water, food, sanitation, first aid. Those are the basics you should meet. The emergency radio and communication, that comes secondary. Okie dokie. Time now, 11:22 p.m. Central Time on the 20th of August, 2018. It is time for me to sign off. Do you want to support my operation? You know what? I want to give a huge, huge shout out to everyone who subscribed to my Twitch channel. Now, there was a miracle subscription avalanche that happened last night from Red Networks. And I want to say thank you firsthand. Didn't get a chance to say thank you verbally. And so here you are. Thank you very much for everything that you've done to help. It's going way, way, way above and beyond anything that I would ever ask for or expect. So, you know, thank you. It's uncalled for, and, you know, we didn't ask you for it, and you are doing more than your share to help get the word out. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And everybody else, gosh, man, we had, again, it was an avalanche. So Red Network started it, and then I jumped in. I could only figure out how to do it one at a time. So I'm sitting there just going click, 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 like giving subscriptions out. Other people were doing it. It was really fun. And the community here on Twitch, I want to say thank you to you guys for at least welcoming me in and giving me a chance. I promise I'm sticking solely to earthquakes, and that is it. You know my past. Look, I've got a checkered past. I've got the harp and all kinds of stuff. You know what I used to cover, and you know, I stand by some of it. Other stuff I don't stand behind. You know, your associations and the things you say over years. So I have chosen to go with earthquakes and stick with earthquakes and not cover any other topics, no matter what. And that's gotten me a lot of hate from a lot of the people that I used to associate with on YouTube. But look, I mean, they can cover that stuff. I'm here to do the science end on it. And that's all I ever really wanted to do. I got sucked into other things, and man, I'll tell you what, those were distractions. Lives can be saved with earthquake forecasting. It's just like storm forecasting. It needs to be refined over many years by many people. I stand by all my findings in research, and I hope you guys are able to repeat the method. Time now, 11:25. I think we can go now. We're going to save this as a video over on YouTube. If you guys want to go watch on YouTube, you can. It'll be a video over on YouTube. So word up and much love for all that as well. Peace out, guys, and I'll be back if anything else goes down.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon. Good evening, I guess it is. Just crawling out of bed. I'm so late. Working on videos. What did I do last night? I don't even remember half the time. Oh yeah, can I give you the secrets to the end of days in this video? Does anybody out there want to see that? Yeah? Yeah? Maybe give a little like? Want to know how the test's gonna end? Want to know why there's earthquakes and where they're coming from? Yeah? You like that? I'll go over that maybe later. Very, very cool video, but I got up this morning, I was watching, I checked out a WSO here. 1 million kilo Teslas hitting Earth. Lightning not abated in Italy. I seen Leak Project, anthrax outbreak in France, and stuff. These things are all going to be relevant soon. The Nostradamus prophecies that I've never told you about are going to start to come into line. And I'll be sure to point them out. Let's see what's going on here. What's going on in the world of Steve?
August 20th, 2018. Just making sure I got my date right. I got you over at Blue Kool-Aid, oh yeah.
Griffin guilty of murder in the first degree.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh yeah!
Now, what we're looking at is obviously, if you're part of this community, you've heard about the Fiji earthquake, this deep earthquake. Dutch Sense has been talking about it. BP Earthwatch, who, by the way, BP Earthwatch and I might disagree on stuff from time to time, but I love him, man. I love him, and I love Dutch Sense. Okay, so I don't care if they disagree with me. I use their information, I look at their information, and I love both of them, okay? Especially Dutch Sense as it relates to earthquakes. One of the things, though, I'm not sure they picked up on yet, because I haven't looked at Dutch Sense, but Blue Kool-Aid Oh Yeah channel,
Okay, can I ask everyone to please stop saying oh no in this courtroom? Because the Kool-Aid guy's gonna keep showing up. Thank you.
been pointing this channel out the last couple days. This guy has been one of the great backup researchers for WSO, and I love him. But he actually did some magnetosphere.
You know, one thing I'll tell people, I look all over the internet. I do not care about anybody's following or the size. When I see videos, I'm actually more drawn to people I've never seen before because they have unique insights. We all do. Like every human being special has their own way of presenting things. And I do look, like a lot of times you guys send me links, I'll check out as much as I can. But don't ever be shy. Like my channel's closed right now for comments because I'm working. It's just too much of a distraction. They will be back open, but anybody in the world, I'll give you advice. If just make a video, throw it out there. Put the right keywords in it, things like Planet X, Nibiru, or whatever is relative, and fill them right to the brim. It's not rocket science recording videos and stuff like that, but put your thoughts on the internet. Don't be shy. You don't have to stick your face out there. Just let it flow. And if you're not sure about something, say you're not sure, but speak your mind. And why I say that is relevant, because I'm going to show you a funny video. I'm not even awake yet. I was roaring when I seen it, but let's see what this guy has to say.
Magnetosphere reaction analysis during the time of the Fiji earthquake, and I thought we'd listen to what he has to say about it.
It is roughly 10 minutes before the earthquake hit. Okay? I don't think this is a coincidence. I think this possibly could have been either the straw that broke the camel's back on the pressure that has been building up around the Earth, or the earthquake itself kind of caused our magnetosphere to kind of, our magnetic stuff around the globe to kind of go crazy a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm just observing stuff and I'm reporting it. So here you go. Anyway.
Right there. Observe and report. There are not enough sets of eyes in the world. Like some of us, when we look at this stuff religiously day in, day out, we know what the norms are. But I really like when just average Joe comes on and it's like, okay, this is not normal. It's like when the sun simulator popped up a couple of years ago. I have a photographic memory. I went outside. I know what the sun looks like. I worked outdoors every day of my life as a landscaper and an oil field guy, right? I was looking, okay, what is that? That's when I started my channel, because like, this is not the norm. And it's great just hearing people, you might not have the terminology, right? Like I get half the things I talk about wrong, but the thingy is not what the thingy should be. According to this article, it's not rocket science. That's the beautiful part about it, and that's what I really love, is that people just get out, they make videos and throw them on the net. You'll never know. Might be the next Oprah Winfrey. Maybe you were in another life, I don't know.
There's 145, look at this. Okay, 149. And if you look at that, guys, it's almost like it's pulling. Okay, something's pulling our pole lines out. That's what the black lines are. Those are our polar lines. So if our polar lines are getting stretched and pulled like that, what do you think's happening to the Earth itself? We're trying to stay in, the Earth itself is trying to stay in an orbit, but we're getting pulled on. So, you pull on something, the crust is going to move. The core may stay in the same spot, but the crust is going to move. And what a lot of people don't understand is that the crust, we got a liquid center to our globe, to our Earth. And what?
Okay. That's just an average Joe speaking this mind, but he understands the simple mechanics, of the movement of the Earth, the liquid core, or, the giant spaceship that controls us, whatever your flavor. The point being is, this is something I was going over, and it was my own free thought, just, an honest Joe just sitting there speaking his mind. But when you look at, I'm just going to pull up the Meso pictures here. When I've been talking about the crustal plate shift that is coming, okay, and the galactic cross, that the North Pole will ultimately be down here. Here's where it is now. It's intelligent by design, is what I wanted to remind people. And I said, quote unquote, it's like a buoy. The galactic plane is like the surface of the ocean. And Earth is just a buoy bobbing up and down. That something, some event, something alien or God or otherwise has to flip the buoy upside down in the water. The reason being is so that the sun can rise in the west. There's the east. This is all foretold in prophecy. It will come to pass. It's a necessary evil. That's what I've been telling people. Do you want to become a better being? This is what's going to happen. It's the amazing thing, you know. It's going to be your perception on life. Do you only live one? Or are you an immortal being? In the next life, you know, do you want it to be good, great, fantastic? Well, we have to fix this. This is the thinking that the world, the mindset that the world needs to get into. If you think, you know, that you're thinking right now, well, I'm 18 years old, I'm a whole life ahead of you. You got eternity ahead of you. Blessed with the soul. That's the thing that's important. And it's, you know, it's that mindset that will be all the difference in the world of the new reality when the time comes. So I wanted to bring that up there. But like I said, the buoy from an outside gravitational force is going to pop the buoy upside down. You know, exactly as how it was foretold when the time comes. But tying this all in, this I randomly popped across this video. Earth is a game board. Earth is hell. You can escape. This is awesome. This guy makes me laugh. So you have to see what he says here.
Greetings, fellow YouTubers. In this video, I'm going to discuss what hell is and why we are already in hell right here on Earth. I want to...
Now, the first thing that came to mind, I was watching him, and for some reason, I don't know,
of your instructors.
I was kind of Star Trekking out.
Is flawless. With one exception, I see that you have applied to Starfleet as well.
It was logical to cultivate multiple options.
Very
logical, but unnecessary. You are hereby accepted to the Vulcan Science Academy. It is truly remarkable, Spock, that you have achieved so much, despite your disadvantage. All right.
Oh, yeah, that's him.
If you would clarify, Minister, to what disadvantage are you referring?
Your human mother.
Oh, that was weak. Dirty.
Council. Ministers, I must decline.
Give it to him, Spock.
Declined admission to this academy.
Then as I am half human, your record remains untarnished.
Spock, you have made a commitment to honor the Vulcan way.
Why did you come before this council today? Was it to satisfy your emotional need to rebel?
The only emotion I wish to convey is gratitude.
Take that, system.
Thank you, ministers, for your consideration. Live long and prosper.
Oh, that was epic. Biatch. So let's see what he has to say.
To help you escape from hell. Now, you're probably thinking, what the fuck? I mean, yeah, I'm not a authority figure in any tradition of spiritual tradition, any scientific group. I'm just a free thinker, and I read very widely. And I've lived in India, and I've lived in Africa, and I've lived in South America, and all these different things. And with the internet, you can bring it all together. And here I am, telling you my interpretation of, New Age look on the world, but these ideas go back a long time. So perhaps what I'm going to tell you has some parallel in Eastern traditions, but I'm very suspicious of any religion. I criticize religious fundamentalism, just like I criticize the hardcore materialism, which has no basis in science anyways, because of what quantum physics has shown us. That physicality is essentially an illusion.
Dude, this guy is like a backup for the Big Bang Theory. They really gotta find him. He's awesome.
People just can't get that through your head. Things pop out of nothingness all the time. They just pop out and they go back in. And that's just energy. That's just the, basic not physical, that's just the basic nature of the universe. It's this quantum physics 11-dimensional world of different energy vibrations. And people, this is the, people use the word rational a lot, and they bring it up. They don't, it's just one of those catchwords. They just use that word rational or material or whatever. I mean, they have no argument because quantum physics, hello, nothing is physical. It's an illusion. You're literally creating things through your observation. So yeah, I mean, let's get into it here. The nature of the soul, okay? So whatever it is, something continues after death. I'm not saying your personality continues, I don't know, but some sort of consciousness, even if it's just electricity, even if you just say, oh, the neurons are firing electrically in your brain, well, that can't be destroyed. It has to go somewhere. Just like all energy has to be displaced, it cannot be created or destroyed. It just goes from one form into another form. But look, again, may argue with this, but we live different lifetimes, okay? It's not just some Hindu idea of these different lifetimes. We live different lifetimes over many millennia. I mean, time starts to become meaningless when you look at the extent of the universe. But yeah, we come into these different bodies, buildings, a building for the soul, an apparatus for the soul. It does come at a certain time when you're born at a specific time because of who you are. That's astrology there. And so we here on Earth, why are we here? Why? Because the Earth is kind of fucked up. It's kind of like it's hell a lot of the time. The pollution and the war, and it's not about the pollution and the war and the disease and all of that. What really makes Earth hell is this this separateness, this illusion of separateness, that we're cut off, that we're trapped in our bodies. We're trapped in our body. And so the religious fundamentalist wants to escape from that and get into heaven. And just get me out of here, get me out. And the atheist is so bitter at the same time that, it takes some other mental approach, like, it doesn't matter at all, and, whatever, I'm just going to disappear anyways. Oh, well, that's not neither of those viewpoints.
I love it. This guy is so funny. I don't think he means to be, but it's priceless. It's called Earth is a Game Board. Earth is Hell. I watched this afterwards. That's what I've been saying for a long time. That Earth is hell. It always will be hell in this realm. This is the upside of the poles reversing on Earth. You see how he says we live in that illusion where we're broken from the source. And the words he's using is just killing me. Because I don't study these things. I speak from the heart. And I understand, but it's an illusion. The only way that illusion's going to end is to fix the position of the Earth in space in terms of the galactic cross and the alignment. That's the end of the age, the beginning of the new age. That's the beautiful thing, and just the way he's saying it, it makes me laugh. It's funny, though, the way you guys should really check this out. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Okay, and I like what he said from a religious perspective, the deep, spiritual side, spend their whole lives screaming to God, get me out of here. The atheists spend their whole life going, life is nothing, we're all going to die, it's emptiness, end of existence. The wise bide their time in between learning everything they can to pass the test so they never have to come back here again. Okay, that's the moral of the story for tonight. So that's what I tell everybody, instead of wasting your free time on mindless stuff, become truly like a worldly, use your time to try and explore the universe for understanding. Because I think ultimately, to me, that's the point of existence, is to acquire and attain knowledge and wisdom. If you spend your time playing video games, and even the thing about, in the Bible, when it talks about the Sabbath is the Sabbath, and that's supposed to be working, because some of the best, most productive days I've ever had in my life are the days where you do nothing. I think that was the whole point originally in the first place. It's your time. You pray and you go to church and things, reflect. And that's the problem with, and I'll give you an example, that's why Paul Hellyer was talking about the banking system. They print money that's not even theirs to begin with. They lend it to you and enslave you. Your energy becomes theirs for free. So when you put $1,000 in the bank and they lend out $10,000 on that $1,000 that they never had, give it to you. They're like, I want a house. They give you a house for free and you just pay them your energy for the rest of your life. That's the problem with the banking system. Money is a form of energy. You only have so many hours of energy in your life to output. And the succubus, aka the banking system, is taking it from you from a young child. There's people that you get these free $10,000 credit cards at 16 years old. Given their income at, say, $10 an hour, they could never pay that off when it's maxed out. Do you see the problem? Your energy was taken from you. Now, for the bank to lend you $10,000 that they had to earn, top to bottom, that's a fair energy exchange. But the problem is there's interest at 30% compound. It's energy. That's the way you always look at money. I'd say some people are cheap with it because they don't want to give away their energy. And they don't have to. A lot to be learned about it. That's the amazing part. There are, philanthropists, billionaires in this world, and that's a great energy exchange. They've acquired it, they're giving it back. Or if you make money off your money, and you give that extra money back, there's a different way. There's so many ways of looking at things. So I want to expand your mind. I'll leave the show short. It's just funny. The Spock comes to mind. So I love you guys lots. Talk to you later. Naughty Beaver out.
Little ball of fur. I've got all night, Sheldon. Soft kitty, warm kitty.
Soft beaver, warm beaver, little ball of fur.
Kitty,
happy beaver, sleepy beaver, purr, purr, purr.
We are live, Mr. Bobby. How are you doing today? I have Relentless Maverick here. This is WSO, and we are going live right now to talk about what's going on and all the interesting things going on in the world of our community. And a little ways into the show today, we'll also be having Seven Spalding from the Seven Spalding channel. Bobby, how you doing, brother?
Steve, I'm awesome, man. Thanks for having me on. Thank you very much. I am doing great. Great today. Better than yesterday. Going to be better tomorrow.
That's all we can ask for right now. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
I can hear you loud and clear, man, like a rock star.
Excellent, because I am getting ready to put some stuff up on the screen as people are coming into the show. And what we're going to do here is just here's some interesting compilation of videos. And I know it's kind of small for you guys that are on mobile phones because I want to have the chat screen in here too. So I'll try to blow it up as much as I can here. But I'm going to show you a couple of videos. This is from a gentleman in the United States, one of my subscribers. And I'm just going to play this little string of videos here, Bobby, and let's just get your reaction to them as we go through.
All right.
Little chemical. Look at this line.
He's got a line in the sky.
There's one. What does that go right into?
Goes right into the big halo.
Look around the sun here.
Wow.
I don't even know if we can zoom out enough. Okay. All the way around
Thanks
the
for
sun.
joining.
Okay. And then a second one. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Whoop, yeah. That's what we're looking for.
Okay.
Okay.
And now we have a double rainbow off of it.
Double rainbow.
You can see it's going. And
Bobby, what did we just see there, do you think?
Okay, well, if I'm going to use my common sense, I'm just going to use common sense. Now, everybody, please understand, I am no scientist, but I operate in common sense. Works pretty good. It's kept me alive my whole life. Should have been dead 100 times, but I'm still around. Now, if you back that thing up and you recognize what's happening there, we have several round, you can see round, okay? What are you looking at as round? Well, the light source is actually showing you the round. If you got rid of the light source, you wouldn't see round at all. Your eye is seeing round, okay? So you got one. Well, originally he backed it up a little bit, and he had one which is actually inverted the other way, not this one. And go back a little farther. The first loop that he saw, a radius line, was controversial in the attitude of the one we're looking at. Listen, man, if you take a tennis ball and hold it up in a dark room and you put a flashlight behind it and you stand in front of it, what are you going to see? See that? Look at that. One goes one way, like an up is like a smiley face, and now you have that round halo around the sun, right? So in my way of reasoning, whoa, you see that?
Whoa, do you see that?
Yeah, right there. Right, exactly. So listen, man, here's my point. Yeah, exactly. Here's my point of view. What I'm seeing, and I know everybody hates this. I know they hate it. I know they really hate it. They can't stand for someone to say, I see planets in the sky. And I know the trolls come out of the hole in the ground, wherever they're from, and they creep in there and they throw that sideways neuro-linguistic nonsense at it and say, that's impossible, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? Use your common sense. If you hold a tennis ball up in front of your face in the dark, and then you take a flashlight and put it behind it, what are you going to see? You're going to see a round black spot with light ring around it. Now, what I see is I see a dark spot with a light ring coming from the backside. There's one, there's another one. Okay, and if you go to the right, the beginning of it, there's actually a third one. So, if you rewind that tape, there you go. See what I'm saying? And it just seems to me, and there's a ring of lights there, blink, 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 like Christmas lights right there, ding, 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 ding. What is light doing? What is light particle? Light particle is a particle that the only reason we see it is because it's operating in the 7 bands of frequency that our eyes naturally can visualize and see. So you got 7 bands of light. The rest are unknown to our eye visually. So we see ding, 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 ding. That light is traveling through the cosmos. It's got to be hitting something to, refract in this direction for us to see it from our ground platform, from our perspective. So I see 3 big balls in the sky with light behind them. And I see the sun right there. Well, it should be the sun. I'm used to seeing the sun and that being the only light in the sky. But unfortunately, we got a lot of stuff crazy going on. I have thousands of images, and what I see is 3 large planets with a light source behind them.
I should put the whole thing in there, I guess, huh?
Yeah, you can.
the thing that really it reminds me of, and I wouldn't be the first one to reflect on this, is that it looks like a lensing system. You know what I mean?
It does look like a lensing system. It does.
Big eyeball looking right back at us. Oh wow, there's two eyeballs that look back at us. There we go.
It doesn't look like the sky that I'm looked at. I grew up on the ocean, on the beach, laying on my back, skipping school, looking at the sun with sunglasses on, smoking weed, and doing my thing. And if you looked at the sky enough, I've never seen anything ever like what we've been seeing the past 3 to 4 years. And if you ask me, and based on my knowledge and my research, what I see some large planetary bodies. One of them is behind the sun, and there might be more than one behind the sun with alternative light sources behind them. So that the light is being cast from the backside around the large body, and then you have the sun throwing the glare at us. So that throws it all off. You put the chemtrail and the aerosol injection into the atmosphere, which is creating a
there, and then there's a ring. There's like this amazing stuff, guys. So that's video number 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just go on to the next one, and this time, this I believe it's a cruise. Mute this here. This is a recent cruiser out on the ocean. You know, with one of those famous cruise lines, out there enjoying the sunset. And it starts to get radical here. And he was reporting to me that people on the deck were a little bit disturbed about what started happening in the sky above the ship just recently in the Caribbean.
Good Lord, look at that.
Yeah, and it just starts to light up to the left, and I think the sun's over to the right. And this reminds me of a lot of the stuff that Seven Spalding captures. So he's going to be on the show here pretty soon. But just very strangely lit clouds. And then a very strange, I did not manipulate this photo. I'll prove that right now. You can see everything's at the original 100%. And you can see that it turns this auburn color. And then it starts to get even a little bit stranger as this continues on. And again, this is just amazing. I mean, listen, I have thousands of photos from the last 5 days. Literally, everybody. I'm telling you, it's being seen everywhere. So here's our sun with a very bright yellow. Okay,
that looks like my hill on the horizon in the morning. I got several of those in the morning. Yeah, it's crazy. Can I just say something real seriously? I'm not joking at all. Can I just take this thing for a minute, Steve?
1 second. Yep.
What we're seeing in front of us is unexplainable. Okay, the meteorologists that are on TV are not explaining this. They're making up new words and new phrases and new verbiage to explain the unexplainable. And if you're coming up with something new, that means you haven't, there's no reasoning behind it. They're not making sense to the viewing public. And because we're on YouTube and a truther community, we're looked at like a bunch of conspiracy theorist crazies that are taking vast sums of data and building a collage of understanding from a vast collection of data. Now, I'm going to share with everybody here, and I really don't care what the trolls think. I don't care where they come from. I don't care what your education background is, Steve. I'm going to go ahead and just blow mine up, and I'm going to put it out there. And this is not Steve's point of view. This is not WSO's point of view. This is Bobby Smith, Relentless Maverick's point of view. And if you don't like that, come over to my site and let me know all about it, because I'll manage my site on my business. But I'm the one saying this. And what I think and what I'm sure of is there are several planetary bodies on the dark side of our planet, and they are shoving us off course, like you would go across the cornfield to get to cut the corner off, so you don't have to travel so far. We have several bodies behind us shoving us forward, and one of those bodies, in my affirmation, is the blue Kachina, and it is shoving us and pushing us through the electrical connection, the electrical attraction, the magnetic repulsion model. Now, this is some serious physics and some serious science that the general public and uneducated people, because they're not educated in those fields, have a very hard time understanding. But let me explain it to you in layman's terms. We got a sun behind us pushing us at our yellow sun, which has a big sun, the red Kachina, behind it, and its buddies, and several other planetoids and bodies in space. Now, I don't care what the world thinks about what I'm telling you, but what I am telling you is that I have exhausted myself with money, time, energy, and emotion to understand the particle physics, the quantum physics, and the planetary mechanics of what's going on in the world around me. I haven't had any distractions. I don't have a wife that I have to fold over to and take part-time action here. I've been full throttle, full blast like a rocket ship blasting through the cosmos, collecting data along the way. And what I'm telling you folks is, you don't have to agree, and you don't have to agree at all, but take a good look around you and just look at it and make sure that what you see is not what you've been seeing, and certainly isn't in the way of volcanism, the high levels of earthquakes. You know, since 2015, earthquakes have increased by 4,000%. By 4,000%. In September 25th, in 2014, the Prime Minister of France says we have 500 days to climate chaos. We are going into a climatic abyss. That is verbatim his words standing next to Obama. So if you can make sense of his statement, which he did not, he left it general and vague. Now, how did they know what was going on then? Now, I've got several things in perfect detail and substantiated documentation that all lead to this equation that I'm speaking about. You can take prophecy, you can take Naughty Beaver, you can take Rex Baird at Leak Project, you can take Seven over there doing his fantastic stuff, you can take Earthly Patriot, you can take Jeff P, you can take everybody in this community, all of our data, all of the webcams, all of the FAA cams, all of the Bloom Sky cams, everything that looks and makes this collage of understanding what it is, can't possibly be lying, okay? So that's my point of view, and I want to make it very clear. If you live on a coastline, it's just my loving advice. Find a way to find an alternative plan for when things start to get funky, and you know it's funky. You need to have a way out. You need to have your plan made. Have a location where you and your family and friends that are collective, you trust, you love, find a place to meet, have a plan with the water and supplies and enough food to last for at least a week or two so that you can move out of that highly densely populated urban environment. That's my loving advice. You don't have to like it. You don't have to share my opinion. You don't have to any of that. But I'm telling you, I have spent a lifetime getting to this point. And that's what I'm gonna conclude with on these weird pictures showing planets in the sky, lights in the sky. Argue amongst yourself. They're not freaking rainbows. They're not leprechauns in the sky. It isn't all of this. It's not high-level technology faking us out with Blue Beam or the Manhattan Project or any of that, okay? This is 2018, and if you look back into Steve's videos and in my videos, you can clearly see the GOES satellite has an image of the Eye of Ra. That is R-A-H, the Eye of Ra. If anybody in the listening audience can explain to me how the Eye of Ra ends up at, let's say, 45 million miles away from Earth, on the backside of our Earth, in a split second, and shows a magnetic fingerprint of that thing out in the cosmos behind us. If you can explain how they have the very same picture in the hieroglyphic expressions that are sealed in time inside the pyramid and throughout Egypt, and the hieroglyphic expressions of what was going on back then. Somebody,
all right. Yes, we get it. We get it that you're passionate about all this information, Bobby. Everything's cool, baby. Everybody slow down. Hey, listen, what we're looking at here, and again, what I want to do in the beginning phase of this, guys, I just want to get a bunch of stuff up here that I've been getting over the weekend.
I'm just getting to the point of that thing, so I was done there anyway. If you can make sense of that, make sense to me and make sense to yourself of it. That's all. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry, buddy.
No, that's all right. I know you're passionate about it, and I appreciate that. But this is a very strange shadow. Now, SDO, which this image comes from, is from the vantage point of the Earth, if I'm not mistaken. And sometimes the Earth gets in the way, sometimes the moon gets in the way. But what was interesting about that was how the shadow went one way and then the other way. And I'll just let that kind of play through. But we're seeing a lot of different phenomenon going on right now that is quite interesting and quite disturbing. And one of the things, as I continue to walk through this evidence I'd like to get into here, Bobby, is to say that one of the things I'm noticing about this community in general is there's a lot of hurt and broken people in this community. And I get why. You know, many of you have probably been looking at this stuff and being called crazy and being invalidated. And if you watch this really close, what this person was trying to show me here. And again, a lot of this footage I'm looking at for the first time with you guys today. But a lot of you have been, you know, believers or have seen the phenomenon or have watched enough evidence come by, whatever that is. That looks like that Fresnel lens that we see sometimes, Bobby, in these images up in Alaska. But, you know, and being invalidated and being shamed and being guilted. And then in the midst of that, you know, we've got families that are splitting up and all kinds of, you know, just, you know, horrible emotional pain that people are going through. Now, that's normal in society across the board. I get that. But especially in this community, there's just so much shame and guilt, Bobby.
Right. And thank you, man. I'm glad you bring that up. And let me reel myself back in. You know, you hit the nail on the head when you said passion. And I'd like to make a very laser point focus on exactly that, the passion. Everybody that's watching your show, including me, it invoked when I first started watching your show, and believe me, I had no intention on finding WSO. It randomly showed up on my screen because of my content that I was previously involved in. I was in scientific research across the board. And by random chance, your thing showed up and I watched. And what I saw was that the world is looking at things that can't be explained. And I also hadn't really taken the time to look. But from then until now, it has invoked a passion to know more and to understand more. And I think that that's reasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable for the human mind to want to know and to execute the actions necessary to learn. So in that equation, we find ourselves staring at our phones, staring at the computer, searching like Banshee Indians through the internet for pieces of information that connect and try to help us understand. And in understanding, we have what's called solitude and contentment. When you don't have understanding, you have anxiety because you have the passion to know more. And I think that passion without the understanding produces one more effect, one more emotional effect. And that is insecurity and doubt. And those mechanisms in our relationships, this is where it really gets hairy, is those are the most incredibly influential feelings within the relationship parameter of the family. Your children, your friends, your boss, your husband, your wife. And those feelings are just incredibly strong when you are passionate and you have data and you're looking at the data like it's truth. So I'm saying that the community is suffering. And I know this because the class that I developed has been growing exponentially. I never in a million years imagined that it would turn into and become a storehouse of comfort. And like I said, man, I really appreciate you, Steve, and I appreciate the fact that we can get together and share truth and disseminate feelings and emotions between us. And I want everybody to know that Steve and I spend personal time together sharing our own fears, our own doubts, our own anxieties. Don't anybody for 1 minute to think that because Steve is a creator that he doesn't experience the same feelings and emotions and questionable doubt over his own thoughts. It makes us think we're crazy, because how could we be executing the knowledge of something that has been kept from us? And you did a video called The Occult, and to occult something is to hide it. I mean, we can go right now on the Sechi and you can show us an occult. The occult is that little thing on the right side of the Sechi satellite that keeps the viewing area that we really want to look at completely blind to us. It's incredible. Solar simulators, the Fresnel lens and all this. These are obviously documented patents that have been produced. Why would they produce these things on the ground? To use them and to create light source. So these little details and facts are the ones driving this passion, that's driving the mind to get more information. And it's creating a massive amount of problems in the home life, in the domestic situation, and in the internals of the relationship status of the larger base of the population of truthers. I know this from my own experience.
Yeah, I think just pointing that out, you know, it's like people, you know, I get it that this is hard. This is a hard thing to get unocculted in your life. And again, there's more going on in our solar system, in our local galaxy, and even around the Earth. And people that see this stuff, like, for example, the photographer in Italy that provided these shots from Alex Lujan Planet X channel, where we see, you know, we're starting to see like orbs and lots of lightning and lots of electrical activity. And again, I would just emphasize that people need to, I think that one of the things that what happens in this community is when you come into the knowledge of the truth, or you come into the knowledge of any truth in the conspiratorium, there's this phase where you got to go through all this internal change where it's like you have to readjust your own belief structures and you have to readjust your own, kind of way that you're going to look at the world and approach the world. And then you come to find out that people don't agree with you. Most people don't agree with your point of view. And it's like that one movie, Bobby. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie where the guy has the sunglasses. What's the name of that movie again? And he has the special glasses where he can see all the signage and he can see what it really says and what people really look like.
Yeah, that's Let's See, or it's Roddy Piper, Roddy Piper, the wrestler, does what is the name of that damn movie? You're right, bro. And every time he puts the glasses on, he sees reality, and he takes them off, and he goes back into the hypnotized vision. His eyes are affected. It's Let Them See. No, it's I don't know, now you're gonna make me look stupid.
This out there, chat room. Who's that? What's that movie again? They Live. That's right. They Live.
They Live. Thank you. Yep, that's it. I couldn't pull it.
Highly recommended movie, but it's one of those things where it's like in They Live, and it's like that guy's running around. That's like a way a lot of folks feel about this kind of stuff. And here's my first advice I would say, and I'm going to give some advice. The first thing I would say is this is a personal research journey for you. And I'm just going to tell you that I've not spoken to any Planet X researchers out there that are really serious about the craft, that have been successful in conveying this to their friends and family in a very successful way. Does that mean that you can't mention it once in a while? Does it mean that you have to hide in shame and guilt? No, that's not what I'm saying. But it's like you don't need to be pushing this on anybody. This is kind of like if you're not paying attention to it, you're not going to see it. And if you're living in the matrix right now, which I call the matrix, just going to work every day 9 to 5, I get it. People making a living, people putting food on the table. It's like they don't want to think about this stuff. They're trying to raise their kids, all that kind of stuff. So, on the one hand, I would say I would really encourage you to just be really easy on people. It's really hard to see past the veil and see any kind of truth, let alone Planet X truth. I mean, all the other kinds of things that we could be speaking about, talking about. Like the Federal Reserve, or things that Derek Rose talks about, or Naughty Beaver and prophecy, all that kind of stuff, man. It's like you start to see stuff that has not been taught to you, or you didn't know about, and it can be pretty emotionally draining. I'll just say that right now, Bobby.
I agree with that. Draining is an understatement. And the truth is that we all are suffering from not understanding what it is exactly we're seeing. I don't think when I said what I said earlier about my particular viewpoint of what's happening, my viewpoint of what's happening is my own. It's not anybody else's. It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks about my viewpoint. But I can share the fact that I can really orate myself in an effective way and make my point clear. But this particular stuff, this stuff in the sky, the bodies of planets in the sky, I look at the sky and I take a picture of it and I try to show it to someone. As soon as I try to show them something that's out of the normal context of their understanding, it is like a blinder shows up, a big fat wall, a defensive posture shows up. Now, and they will placate me. They'll smile and say, "Yeah, I see it." No, they don't. They don't really see it, because if they saw it, they would dig more, or they don't want to dig more. And what I realized was trying to share this with the most personal people, my friends, my family, my relationship that are close to me, the most intimate people in my lives. They are the hardest to reach because they know us from our past. And for us to transition from who we were into the critical thinker and the person that's trying to give warning over life-threatening, if you see it as a life-threatening situation, you're going to share it with passion. And they've all called me crazy, dude. And that is probably the number one key component. I want to thank Steve Olson first for driving me in the right direction and giving me the strength and the courage to kind of move my own channel into a direction that was more palatable for the viewers of this truther community. It is for you that are having trouble in this that I'm really doing what I'm doing, because for us to really get grounded on what we're fixing to go through, or what we're going through now, it's important that we're grounded in who we are. And that has everything to do with what we believe. And it's okay if other people don't believe what we believe.
Okay.
It's perfectly okay.
Perfectly
it
okay.
is.
Yep.
Yeah.
just let it go, man. I mean, just keep learning the truth, keep preparing your own spirit, your own soul, for whatever may come. And, I'm starting to get to the point, though, where I'm seeing a shift in the community, too, in a little way. We're going to talk about this with Seven when he comes on, because he's been noticing it, too, Bobby. And that is, I'm seeing a lot of forgiveness. I'm seeing a lot of people and I was talking to Seven about this, and we'll bring him on here in a minute, and he can start sharing some of his thoughts on this, too. But it's like I'm starting to see a lot of people act, may I say, like Christians, like the way that you would think somebody who knows the Christ would act. I'm seeing a lot of I'm also seeing a lot of people kind of displaying healthy behavior too now in a bigger way. What do you think about that, Bobby?
Well, Steve, I think this. Well, in my own life, and let me tell you, my life has been, it's been rough, but my own relationships are becoming smoother. And the reason they're smoother, I'll give you a reason why, is because I quit driving my facts down their throat. I stopped driving what I know in my mind to be true down their throat because I see it as a threat or a potential reality for our future. I just quit. And what I did do is I reserved myself, and I got into my own little bubble of research. And in doing so, they're starting to gravitate more towards my research and get closer to me because now I'm not driving it. And they kind of wonder, why would he be doing that? It is the alternative effect. Your outward expression of your inward pain is what drives people away. Well, if you don't have a painful expression, they'll gravitate towards you and they become more receptive to hear what you say. And I think that is the overall arching effect of the truth. When the truth is present, it requires consensus. And consensus is when the people agree. The alternative to truth is subjectivity. And that means that everybody has their own version of the truth. Well, you can count on subjectivity creating chaos and mixed emotions and mixed messages and angled ways of behaving so that everybody's trying to manipulate the other to believe what they want them to believe. There's no truth in it. And this truth is irrefutable. I mean, over and over again for years, my brother, you have brought the pictures. Now, you don't produce the pictures. They're not your pictures. You do occasionally. But the pictures are coming from the collective, from around the world. If they were from one neighborhood, I would say, well, that neighborhood's got together and they're trying to do something. No. They're from around the world. These are from normal people all over the place, not having the answers that they should have because the answers have been obfuscated through occultism from them. Not occult as evil, but occult as the information not being given out for one reason or the other. It could be good reasons, like the chemtrail. That's a very good example. Now, we say, well, in this community, we're almost dead set on the fact that they're spraying the skies to hide it from us. But the other side of the equation is that the scientific data says that we have high levels of cosmic rays that are coming through the sun. And there's another argument. Is it a solar minimum or not? It goes from one argument to the next. But the fact is, the earth is hot. Everybody can go out in the sun and see. You can't sit in the sun for 30 minutes. I've been in the sun my whole life. I don't go out there for 20 minutes and I'm burning up. I get out of it. So there are some physical effects taking place in the world that were not here for the past 30 years. And in that is some sliver of truth. And I just want to say, the feelings are the first thing that happen. The feelings change. Your feelings change. My feelings change. The people that are around us, their feelings change. You want to call 7 and get him on, brother? I'm reminding you.
No, I just sent him out the invite. He should be jumping on.
Okay, right. You asked me to remind you, so there you go.
Oh, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Come on, 7. Bring it on, buddy. And so the feelings...
I'm talking about what I'm starting to see, though, is, and where I really want to focus, and this is kind of where I want to get to, is that I'm seeing some really positive things in this Nibiru community, in this Planet X, Wormwood, whatever you want to call it, right? Space
I'm with you.
Phenomenon. I'm seeing a lot of really promising signs that are encouraging to me as well. And I think it has something to do with people are starting to take more of a, let's call it an eternal perspective. And they're starting to see perhaps how temporal this life really is, because really it's an illusion. We think we're never going to die, right? I mean, most people don't go around thinking, I'm going to die today. Especially the people that are going to die today. Most of them didn't wake up thinking they were going to die today. This community, I think, has this special kind of gift to say, well, by seeing how quite frankly, how terrifying, the cosmos can be. Things could change any second. And having your awareness on this and seeing the kinds of things that we see, kind of at some point you just kind of give up and you say, you know what, I can't do anything about this. And there's really very little power or control I have over this. So I'm going to focus my heart and mind on things that are not temporary or temporal anymore. And I think that's really leading to some really emotional breakthroughs. So in favor of this community and in favor of the Christians in this community, I've watched a lot of Christians really grow past a lot of their cognitive dissonance.
Absolutely.
A lot of the stuff that we talk about. I mean, this is hard stuff, because once you start talking about Planet X or Nibiru, you got to talk about the Anunnaki. If you're going to talk about the Anunnaki, you got to talk about the Sumerians. If you're going to talk about the Sumerians, you got to talk about the Hebrews. Talk about the Hebrews, you got to talk about Abraham and all the Abrahamic faiths. And that reaches right back to the core of who many of these Christians and Muslims and Jewish people think they are, Bobby.
Based on their belief of what they've been taught and the options by which they've been given to choose. And that is a very poignant reality. Let me bring one little point to surface here. Now, it wasn't but a couple days ago that Fiji went through an 8.3, right?
Right.
A tremendous earthquake, tremendous problem there. Back years ago, we had Fukushima, where the waves showed up and they just inundated and went miles inland and killed 20,000 people. Let me ask everybody that's listening in this audience, do you think that if you lived in Fiji or if you lived in Japan when Fukushima was going on, do you think you would view this whole situation as the end of the world? Isn't it, in fact, exactly what they're living through at this moment? The end of their world as they know it? I mean, if your wife and your new unborn children were in the hospital waiting for labor and the hospital collapsed, which is something that I saw. I mean, I saw it on the videos.
Just now here locally in Wisconsin, I'll show everybody, man. This is what we're getting nowadays, guys. Flash floods. I mean, it's raining.
Yeah. Right. I mean, literally, the end of the world is happening for a lot of people. And by the grace of God above, or whatever you want to call him, whatever name you want to have on him, because I don't argue about that name of God. I don't argue about that delivery from evil and all this. That isn't a position of mine. I'm not wise enough to have that worked out. But I do know one thing. I know light particle physics. And I know that when vibrations are equal and alike, they get together. And I'd like to make this very clear to everybody. If you are watching this and you have studied this and you've spent years gravitating to this particular central part of this equation of information in your world, yours, not your neighbors, not your wife, not your kids, yours, if you're listening, if your vibration and your wavelength is comfortable here, it is because you are with like-minded individuals. It's simple. It is a vibrational resonance. And vibrational resonance is an absolute fact. The Schumann resonance that we watch, and Steve will bring it up again over and over again in the videos. Schumann resonance is the world's heartbeat. It is the value of vibration on the earth that works. It works with our heart. It works with humans. It's funny how the pacemaker that's put into an individual in the hospital to keep him from having a heart palpitation that will kill him and creating, a cardiac arrest, they put in the pacemaker and they set the resonance value at the pacemaker at 7.38, the same resonance value of the planet. Now that would say to me that everything on the planet and all of our hearts must vibrate at an equal balance. So this is why I think might explain why the Christians are coming heartful and becoming softer. The Muslim, it doesn't matter what your faith is. If you're watching this and it resonates with you, it's because it's resonating with some truth.
Right.
Steve
well,
doesn't.
This,
yeah.
I think, and I'll ask the audience too. I think that people, in our community specifically, they're softening on dogma quite a bit lately, don't you think?
I agree, because the dogma does not substantiate itself. There's a lot of controversy within the dogma and the writings itself. Derek Burroughs has done an excellent job of breaking it down and saying, look, these are the red letters. And in my research and in my understanding, the red letters, if you apply them to quantum physics or to light particle physics or to any other deep, highly technological advanced studies, you can recognize that Jesus was an information source. And the reason that he was executed is because his information did not resonate with the people that were running the world at that time. And very much in a likeness, this truther community, what we're doing is not resonating with the narrative that we have all been given our whole lives from childhood. And not only us, but our parents and their parents and their parents. This is going back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of this resonance of information being askew. And now we show up with technological data that proves otherwise. Don't you think that we should be looked at like aliens by our peers, our family members, and everybody, because our resonance understanding is different? That's all it is. It's different.
All right. Well, I got you guys all here. Let's take a little break from the deep spiritual, emotional talking, and let's go back to some photographs.
Cool.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up today's photos. Okay. And I'm just going to give you guys an example of just this. These are not all the photos. These are the only the ones I kept because I thought that they were interesting or different. Okay. So that's my criteria. They have to be interesting, different. And I welcome all photos, but it's like the ones I'm going to pick are going to be just a little bit weird. But I haven't done any analysis on these yet. So this is you guys watching me go through a weekend worth of the best photos that I have. This one, 7/28. So this was on June 28th. Now, here's something I want to talk about, Bobby, when I see this one here. And that is when I see this really bright light up and to the left of the real sun, if you were looking at the sun through a telescope, you probably wouldn't see this light. I really think that the way that they do this light enhancement technology, and that's what I think we're seeing here, I really don't think that's two suns. I think that what they're doing is it's a very pinpoint of light. And then if you looked at it through a welding glass, it would completely block this fluorescent type light out. That's my theory. It's just a theory, man. I really don't think we're seeing two suns here, Bobby.
I don't think we're seeing two suns there either. I think that is our sun and a light source, okay? Because when you go to the patents and you start looking at that thing, if you go back to the sun maker, sun simulator patents, and you just pull it up and look at it, you can see the guy standing on the ground. The damn thing is 60 feet tall. It's huge. And it's shooting, if it's shooting LED or laser light out of it, my God, if you could put it out there halfway between us and the sun, and it would be a gigantic flashlight, and it will look just like that. Now, I'm not there. I'm not out in space. I don't know. I really don't know. Neither do you, and I don't think anybody does. But we know there's patents for it.
Well, there you go. And this is something that this community is pretty familiar with. But again,
hey, wait a minute. Wait. What's above that picture? What is above the sun right there, dude? There's a ball above the sun.
Well, let's take a look. I didn't see
at 11 o'clock, at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, in between. There's a ball above the sun. It's shaded.
Let's pull it into our handy dandy picture manipulation software.
Hey, Seven, how you doing, brother?
I am fantastic. How's everybody else?
Good, man. Looking good.
Brother, how are you?
Can you guys see me, or do I need to turn my...
No, man, you look good, man. Good to go.
No, that is your right there. That's your watermark right there, Seven.
Me.
Yep, you in front of that cool tapestry that you have in your home.
Bobby Smith, you are amazing, sir.
Thank you, brother. I feel the same way, man. I love you, bro. Thank you, bro.
Oh, my God.
Seven, welcome. This is Seven Spalding from the Seven Spalding channel, and we'll have links below in case you missed. Otherwise, you can find him at Seven Spalding. Just put in SEVEN space SPAULDING, and it's Spalding. Very just how it sounds. Now, what we did here, Seven, and I'm going to get you in the conversation here after we look at the photo. We're just
There's a shadow.
Yeah, we're just randomly looking through photos that I got today, and this is just. I haven't looked at them, analyzed any of them, and we were just commenting on how we don't think that's two suns. We think that's... I'm
seeing what I'm seeing. I don't even know if have I lost my mind? Am I losing my mind?
Have we lost our minds? Probably on many levels. Seven, what do you think?
Well, first off, I can't see anything on the screen except for, not that I need to. No, Bobby, you haven't lost your mind. Not at all.
I feel like I have.
No.
No.
Quite honestly, what you're doing in a nutshell, and what many of the people that are here enjoying this right now, you're simply shattering the matrix. You're absolutely having little birth pains. You're just kicking ass and taking numbers, and it hurts. You're shifting, and you are in ascension mode. And, you know, just like a rocket lifting out of Atmo, bruh, it kicks and jolts and it squishes, and everybody's sitting in it, gets squished down in their chairs.
Right.
You know, that's what we're feeling right now. And, of course, you're going to question yourself at times. Something from the cell phone towers, certainly something that they're spraying, certainly something that, you know, I mean, we all know that you know, you can just simply take a tuning fork or a guitar and play a chord that just makes everybody feel like shit. And they can,
yeah, you're right, bro.
Bruh, you know.
I agree. But it's a harmonic resonance, brother.
You know, furthermore, and thank you for being so clear. It's funny how Steve said it a minute ago, and Steve sees right through this stuff. The continual feeling of being in the wrong, having this guilt mode action, and yet your passion has sped you up to where we're not all sitting here for a 5-hour video. You summed it up in about 10 minutes, very passionately. And I peeped how something tried to make you feel. You probably started sweating. Oh my God, did I say too much, too fast? Am I too hot? No, you're saving us all the bullshit time. You got right to the point. We feel these waves. We feel the plasma. We feel the electricity. We feel those 1953 billion Tesla buzz shocks that Steve was talking about earlier. We feel these things. And you were discussing how it affects the human body, the heart, consciousness. Every day at sunrise and sunset, you hear the sirens. The old people are definitely being affected by it because of their pacemakers and stuff. So again, the fact that we are elevating and resonating at a much neater frequency, and I think that Steve might kind of reel us back in. It of course, it's going to have you feeling, but once you get up above the Matrix bullshit, man, including all the people you're talking about, fuck them.
Hell yeah.
Fuck them.
Bingo, bro. You got it. When you get
No swearing. But
okay, sorry. I'm just saying, like, you're gonna have to get to the point where you let go of that because they're on a whole different frequency, and they'll get there when they're meant to get there.
Exactly, man. You got it, brother.
You know, so Steve, thanks.
No, perfect, and that's fine. It's just like the reason I caution on the swearing because we have a lot of really, believe it or not, we have a lot of younger folks that are starting to jump into the community and start to watch this stuff. But one of the things I might talk about right now, and I love this group to talk about it, is what does ascension really mean? What does that even mean? What does it mean? I hear a lot of people talking about it. Like, and
are you asking me?
I'm not yet. I'm rhetorically acting.
Sorry, bro. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'll put it out there for general comment, and I will start. What do you guys think in the chat room? What do you think what is the essence of ascension? And I want you to think about that before we start talking about it, because I really do believe all of the stuff that we're seeing around us is waking people up to a greater truth. And that the world and the cosmos and the universe and the solar system and all that stuff and all the things we've been told all of our lives, it's a much bigger story than what we had suspected. Don't you guys think? 7?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know if you were talking to me.
Let's start with 7. So 7, don't you think that the story is a lot bigger than we first originally suspected?
Huge.
Well, I do, and I took some notes, you know, and again, thank you, by the way, everybody's, all of Steve's people. I never call anybody subscribers or subs. I call everybody superiors. Every one of you are, and I do apologize for having a potty mouth. It's just my whole life has been stolen from me since before birth. Me and my twin sister, 2 months premature, and most of us have been through a crucible. So thank you, Steve, for being able to reel us back in. And not have the little
police officer gets out and looks at me and says, "Sir, do you have a gun in your car?" So, "Oh, yes, I do. It's up here." So, "Need you to step out of the car, please?" "Well, I'm sitting on the curb."
I have the little guilt, nasty feelings. I call it the guilt bots, people, or the stress bots, or the anxiety bots, or the I eat too much ice cream bots. Anything that drags you down, let it slide off of you. Okay, ascension to me actually really does mean, for instance, Steve, 30 seconds before you called me this afternoon, I thought about you, and I thought how great it would be to call you on the phone. You called me. We're all starting to gain a certain precognisance. Many of the people, including in the chat room here, we're starting to have the slight ability to see a little bit around the corner in terms of time and sort of know where to go in traffic, know where to find what we need at the grocery store. Simple little things that are starting to become everyday commonplace. We're expecting it and we're manifesting more of it. We're having much more of a Christ-like attitude towards people as soon as we walk out of the door. We're answerable to each other. This community here, it's interesting how we all absolutely keep an eye on each other and tend not to lie. We're all tending to desire very much more spiritual things these days, more so than the money and cash and the ideals and the need for the woman or the man. Those things, it's interesting how little we all sort of get grabbed up in that stuff. Furthermore, and again, I think that this is something that I can say, we're being changed also in that you can almost feel when it comes to the waves, when it comes to the changes in the sky. I know, and I'm not going to go this way or that. I know that I sense the Jesus frequency coming back, and it gets closer. And I want naturally to ascend a bit further up to that. It can tie in.
What is ascension? What is it?
Going up, getting out of me. It seems to be happening more and more. I'm getting out of me more, and I'm getting myself into that flower or into the person's channel who has 3 subs and who needs that little bit of love. I'm getting into the person who needs somebody to help them across the street. And like I say, I'm getting into
not to cut you off, Seven, but what I would call that is those are the symptoms of somebody who is ascending, right? So I see a lot of evidence in this community that people are ascending, and I have a definition for it. We're going to hear from Bobby next, and I'll read a couple of the chat comments before I tell you what I think ascension is. But so far, what you're telling me about are symptoms. What is ascension?
I'll know when I get there, I hope.
Bobby, what do you think?
Are you ready? Because, okay, now for me, and here's a really poignant observation. See, ascension for Seven is exactly what it needs to be. It's exactly what it needs to be for him, because, like he says, the crushing delivery of life on him and his siblings or friends or anybody in his circle that was with him. It was crushing. Life has been crushing, and it may be less crushing for some people and more crushing for others, but nonetheless, for him to ascend means that he has to get past the broken crush, what happened to him. For us to ascend, and I'm going to take you right straight directly to the core of my class, and that's getting past broken on Relentless Maverick. If anybody is having a problem with any part of their life, it's called a hurt, a hang-up, or a habit. And I can honestly say that I've met thousands of people, and I've been dealing with hundreds and hundreds of people, and I haven't met one that doesn't have a hurt, a hang-up, or a habit. Some have all 3, but I haven't met one person that doesn't have one. And for me to ascend, if I want to justifiably or quantify ascension, I would go in the reverse. Instead of going up, I'm going to go in to me. And I'm going to break myself down into little bits and pieces. And this runs right down the same line that Derek Burroughs does. This isn't about finding a salvation or finding a process. Ascension to me is to recover. And the only way you can recover is not to deny that something is broken. You can't fix something if you don't admit it needs to be fixed. If your car tire goes flat, you pull over and you fix a tire because it's painfully obvious that you're not going any farther. But unfortunately, in our lives, we have this unbelievable ability to ignore the painfully obvious facts about what we've been through and how they just may have potentially affected us in our adult lives. You have a younger base crowd coming over and visiting WSO, and I want to direct this directly to them. Because if I had known what I know now when I was 20, I would have saved my life 20 years of self-abuse, self-destructive thinking, self-destructive pain and suffering that I imposed on myself through guilt, uncertainty, self-esteem issues. So to ascend for me, and I'm going to make this brief so you can jump in, but to ascend to me is to get centered on who you are, what happened to you, for you to put the responsible effects where they belong. And really, there's no one responsible for anything, because if your parents taught you wrong, it's because their parents taught them wrong. Was it your parents' fault they didn't have a toolbox? No. Was it their parents' fault they didn't have a toolbox? No. So, and here we are back to the rabbit hole world where we're going, whose fault is it? Well, that takes you right back to what do you believe? Well, that takes us to religion of all types. Oh, before they had religion, they believed in the sun. Okay, well, if I want to go to the sun, then I'm going to jump into light particle physics. Bobby, and here we are. Wait a minute. Ascension is the vibrational likeness where you accept you for who you are, and you express that to the people around you. This is love. It's a matter of the heart, and it's a matter of accepting the things that you cannot change. That is ascension, being able to accept what you cannot change. Does that make sense to you, Steve?
It does. Okay, so I would say that so far what I've gotten is an excellent description from Seven of some of the symptoms of someone who might be ascending. And then Bobby is talking about getting to the heart of the matter and really dealing with those deep hurts, hang-ups, habits and hang-ups that prevent us from being ascended. Let's look at some of the comment section. We've got frequency raising. People think that ascension means for frequency to be raised, fifth dimension and beyond. We've got, let's see what else in here.
Yeah, take the time and let's hear some of that because it's important.
Is letting go of everything. And I get my say here too, guys. Ascension is letting go of everything and just love everything always. I think that's a good symptom of ascension. Ascension is growing closer to the inner self and Almighty God, raising above the ego and the carnal mind. I think that's all wonderful. But before I tell you what my definition of ascension is, I am going to show you this egg-shaped object that we saw again in Milwaukee yesterday, guys. Right up above my buddy Ken's house. Right over here next to me at the Lake Michigan. Isn't that crazy? Seven, what do you think of that?
I can't see it.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, for Seven, I'm just going to tell you, it's unexplainable and freaky. Okay, bro? It's unexplainable. Totally weird.
Okay. Just wanted to say, so as we're going through and talking about ascension, we're looking at some just dramatic, dynamic photographs from all over the world of the strangest things where we have several light sources at a time. All right, well, let me tell you what I think ascension is, guys. Let me hear what you think of my idea. I think ascension is the transition from a temporal point of view to an eternal point of view.
Well, that's why we're on your show, Steve, because you're so poignant. You're so smart, buddy.
No, what do you guys think in the chat room? I love what you're saying. I love what I love what you're doing over there at Relentless Maverick. And guys, if you've got a hurt, a hang up, you've got to get past that inner pain. In order for you to stand as a man or a woman, self-contained, self-reliant, and strong, sometimes you have to go inside. And I get what Bobby Maverick is saying. That is definitely a key to ascension. But when you're faced with the kind of pictures and the kind of imagery that we see on a day-to-day basis, oh my God, these rainbows just freak me out. It forces us to look at things eternally, doesn't it, guys?
Absolutely.
Seven, what do you think?
Absolutely, and I don't mind saying it. You know, we absolutely need to look at the fact that written in tablets of stone from the Sumerians, and they didn't do that for nothing. Is a story that in turn the Torah was based off of, in turn, which the Bible was, and then the Quran after the Bible. We're all one. We're all part of Source. And, you know, I don't mind saying it, and I know I'm not crazy. They're coming back. I thought about it today while I tried to take a nap at around noon, at which point I felt a massive magnetic wave, by the way. It rocked the truck that I was in. All the religions of the world, which we all know can be very divisive. Shalom, assalamu alaikum, by the way. Blessings in the name of Yeshua, and a mindful bow to all people who like to bow, as long as we don't butt heads. They're all a smoke screen for something that I insist is coming back. They're using the ringing. So many of your people right there, I had nibby bumps because so many of your people were like, wow, the ringing in my ear just started when I started watching. You know what I mean? And they're hiding a frequency of something that, by the way, doesn't want to see the last great whales of the oceans fished and chopped up for the hell of it, doesn't want to see the continuation of the pedophilia that has millions of children worldwide, and they don't even make the milk cartons anymore. You know, they used to display the faces of the missing children. They don't know, Mo. Okay? We're living in a big old global system of pedophilia, cocaine, all right, money laundering, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, run by the top elites, blah, 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 blah. But they're hiding something that don't dig them. It digs you, little person, little new person. You see what I'm saying? Exactly. And it's starting to prepare us. We can feel it. I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes some of your subs might be able to jump in here. Have you had dreams these days? Clairvoyant dreams? Do you know what a loved one is thinking? Do you have the wisdom these days? Here's a neat question. Talk about ascension. In knowing that something's coming back, do you have the wisdom today to stay away from the people who aren't ready? I've stayed away from them for about 8 months now. Ain't never been so happy. Shoot. If at first you don't succeed, run, don't walk from any situation in life that used to bum you out, and you'll start seeing your paycheck increase. You'll start seeing the relationships around you improve, and it might just be the relationship with that.
You know where I really saw this, Seven, and I don't mean this as an ego statement. You know I don't mean this, because I see beautiful growth in you and Bobby as friends of mine that I've followed, you know, and been with, and really have gotten to know both Seven and Bobby on the phone deeply, intimately. We know a lot about each other, right, guys? I mean,
that's right. That's right.
And I can tell you, I see the growth in both of you. But when I heard Rex, because I hadn't talked to Rex Bear in about 2 years, and the highest compliment I've gotten was just, I can't believe how much you've grown. And it's like, well, what does that even mean? But what he meant by that was, it's just much more pleasant to be around you. It's just much more pleasant to speak with you. I don't feel like you're trying to shove stuff down my throat anymore, Steve. I think that you're just trying to do your thing, you know? To me, those are signs and symptoms of this ascension process. Don't you guys think?
I agree.
I mean, I can say in a nutshell, yes, I jumped on as soon as I got on here, I went monkey mode, somewhat, yes, with an expletive. But one of the first things I said is, to truly ascend, you got to be that balloon that actually, the hurt you, the little hurt locker, the old school, because believe me, I used to carry that around. And guess whose fault it was? Everybody's fault. It's gone.
You're right, buddy.
But that little 7-year-old Seven, he lost his balloon. It's the red balloon and it's gone. But you know what? That balloon is free. And now that I'm a man, over all that hurt locker stuff, I see the red balloon that most people are blind to. In fact, there are a bunch of them. In fact, the Navy put out a commercial about 3 years ago, warning us of the huge red balloon. See what I'm saying? Everything's full circle now. And if you can let the balloon go, oh my gosh, it's supposed to go. And when it comes back, you're going to be a little bit more ready to handle this stuff.
Right.
I agree.
Bobby, so I'm going to turn it over to you, because here's the thing. Now, one part of what's going to block your ability to see the eternal perspective versus the temporal perspective is if you hate yourself, you're going to have a hard time seeing the eternal perspective. Bobby?
Well, you have the Sechi vision up there. You got the Sechi screen up there, and what I saw was the occult in the screen. Now, we got Seven over there fixing to wing a boomerang at somebody, and that's cool. Put that occult back up there, Steve-O. I want to make a very clear point here, and I need that thing on the screen, dog.
This one right here?
Yeah. Everybody take notice of what you're looking at right now. Put that back up there, brother.
I have up the
There it is. There it is. There it is. To the right, you see that little angular thing? Looks like a triangle with its nose chopped off. Now, what we're trying to see, and I know this because we've been looking at this thing for years, what we've been trying to see is what's behind that little triangle thing that's in the window. We got Seven on the screen right now, brother. And but anyway, and I want to use the word occult. And another thing, you felt a magnetic wave move your car, Seven? My friend Eric Briggs, and you can go to Facebook, Eric Briggs on Facebook, and check him out.
That guy.
Eric Briggs, listen to this. Eric Briggs was driving and he was doing his thing, cruising across the flatlands a couple 100 miles in one day. While he was driving along, his vehicle was rocked while he was driving it. So you just reiterated something that Eric Briggs told me specifically. And I've spent hundreds of hours with Eric Briggs monitoring the GOES satellite and really digging deep into the technical side of what my viewpoint is all about. It's not for no reason. Now, in the other side of things, when you were saying, where are we at in this thing, and what is ascension? This whole conversation is about bringing the community together in understanding. And I want everybody to understand your point of view is right. No matter what it is, it's right. It's not right. It's not wrong. It is yours. And because it's yours, it's right. And if you wanted to expand beyond where it is, the most important thing is to understand that you just might be wrong. The hardest thing in the world for us to do is to accept that our viewpoint is askew from the reality that we live in. God forbid you be 45 or 50 or 35 or 25, an adult, and not have a clear vision of what reality is. So these pictures that Steve Olson has produced and put up for us to view come from all over the world. And generally, in the total package, they're showing us something that is hard to put a name on. We don't know for sure. It's out in the cosmos. None of us are there. So as a collective hive mind, look what's happened here. We've all come together and we are all start to vibrate at the same frequency. I've watched it in my comments. I've watched it within the creators themselves. 2 years ago, we had a massive amount of drama within the creation and the creator community. The people,
drama, man. Whoa, I was right in the middle of that.
What's that, brother? Yeah. Oh, well, I didn't want to pull you out on the carpet, brother, but I was just trying to generally make a poignant fact. And even within the community itself, I see healing and I see vibrational continuity and I see a resonant value structure of understanding taking place within a lot of people. And I want to continue and say, everybody continue to do it. Now, Eric Briggs, and bring back Eric Briggs, and I don't want to throw him out. He has been a really, really big part of my understanding things that I never knew or dreamed that I would ever understand in my whole life. And this is electromagnetic frequencies and electromagnetic influences on our planets and how they resonate. They all have their own signature. Each one of us has our own signature of magnetism and electromagnetic impulse. That's what makes your heart beat all by itself. You think you got a generator in you? You got a battery in you? No, it never shuts down. It runs and runs and runs at the right pace, the right amount, the right frequency. It cruises along and it does exactly what it's supposed to do without you telling it to, without plugging into a wall, without a nuclear furnace in your stomach. It just goes by itself.
Right.
You know?
It's like I believe the heart, actually, I have a radical belief on how the heart is powered. This is one of the reasons why it's so hard to do heart transplants, is because it is a resonant frequency of that heart muscle, but it's actually powered by eternal power. That's what I really believe. Isn't that weird?
And I would call it 0 point energy, which you could go to Nikola Tesla and get down on that. 0 point energy is everywhere all the time.
Right. But before we let's just take a little pause on this picture. So it comes from Kool-Aid Oh Yeah or something like that channel. I just put a video of his up. You guys can go check it out. But he sent me these, and I watched this video where he did this. But one of the things I wanted to point out was this little disc that we see in the middle of this Sechi satellite image. We watched this get deployed. When the sun flashed like this, there was a huge flash from the sun on the 14th at 10:12 UTC. And look at these two little objects that showed up behind that occulter or that lens or whatever that is. That is clearly artificial lens. We saw it get deployed. But what are these two little objects here, I wonder, eh?
It kind of looks like an eye sideways, doesn't it?
Sure does. And I'm just saying, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing is artificial, you guys. It just is. I'm not going to lie about it. So when I see this stuff evolve, but why did the sun flash like this? I don't know. But getting back to the community again, Seven, what other kind of things are you seeing in the community? You do a lot of live chats. You're really close to the audience. What are some other threads that are starting to evolve out of your community?
Well, I mean, things that I pray for people a lot about. For instance, how difficult it is to go to sleep, and how difficult it is to wake up. How so often, including one of my employers who is not at all a NIBY person at all. He's a finance major and could care less. You know, a lot of people notice that in the morning, it feels as if you're waking up into a reality that is just shifting wrong. The coffee don't quite taste like the coffee anymore, and you sort of look suspiciously at the coffee pot, wondering if you awake yet. There's a residue with time now. I call it the time sickness at times, 2 or 3 times a day, at around the same time of day, an hour between 11 and 1 o'clock, and around an hour or 2 before and after sunset, where I'll feel that my soul is being, the lining of my soul is being torn out, sort of like it's just being ripped off, and I feel really sick, and then I sneeze 2 or 3 times, and then I feel fine. It feels as if CERN sometimes is having things to where it feels as if time slows down.
Seven.
Yeah?
I'm sorry. I want to... Listen, man, I have been sneezing like crazy. I never sneezed in my whole life. That just freaked me out, buddy, because I was on the phone with Eric and sneezing all... I never sneeze. Everybody that knows me knows I don't sneeze. For the past 2 weeks, I've been sneezing. Unreal. Right out of the blue, boom, sneezing. Okay, go ahead.
About that, that's a good thread, because as everybody else, I've been noticing unusual sneezing as well, where it's just out of the blue, I'll just start just hacking off these horrible sneezes. Wonder if it's us discharging, you guys.
It may be a vibrational continuum. Maybe our DNA is modifying. You know, it says that, you know, we should, and cosmic rays actually adjust and distort our DNA within us without we have nothing to, you know, we can't do anything. Cancer shows up. I don't know what it is. It's bizarre. That sneezing thing just freaked me out, dog.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat room are agreeing too, Bobby. That's what I was trying to point out, is that there's a lot of people that are agreeing. I wonder what the sneezing thing's all about. That's interesting.
Well, then can I go one step beyond, and I can tell you what Eric Briggs says it is. And Eric Briggs has spent plenty of time doing his homework. I got to tell you, he might be a little crazy, might seem a little crazy, but he's educated. And let me tell you what it is. Eric Briggs, his affirmation of this is we are being surrounded by an electric fog. An electric fog, when it surrounds us, it affects the neuropathy of the mind, and our nose is so sensitive and so close to our brain that the hairs and the sensors inside our nose are reacting to a disturbance in the electromagnetic impulses that are being used by the Earth to protect herself from the incoming planets. Now, it might sound crazy, but if you knew what I know, you'd absolutely fall in line with that and bite.
That the little hairs in your nose would be electroreactive, but I saw you had a reaction, Seven. What did you want to say and share?
Well, like I said, you know, usually an hour to 2 hours surrounding sunrise and sunset, when they're manipulating the moisture in the clouds and in the air, I can feel the waves coming from these objects that are incoming, as well as when they crank up HARP and Project Bluebeam to try to hide it. I mean, I'm a super tuning fork. You know, it's part of why yesterday when I did a live video, I mentioned that twins and people who were born premature and folks who've suffered extreme head trauma, let's say, or who are going through major post-traumatic stress disorder, a lot of the bumps and bruises that we've taken in our lives. You know, when you're a baby and you spend 2 months blindfolded in an incubator, your senses are heightened. When you go through trauma, the painful parts of many of your lives where you did sit for 5 months depressed and eat too much ice cream, do you not know, ladies and gentlemen, that you were being honed and sharpened during that time? All of our senses are rising and heightening. And that's another thing that a lot of people on here are experiencing as well, is we're feeling these things, and it's all and so often it's in proximity to sunrise and sunset.
Thank you, Seven. I want to say, Seven. Thank you, brother. Let me tell you another thing that I haven't shared.
Wait, one last thing. I think that it's being transmitted also by the 5G and by the cell phone towers. I think that they try to pop people like us. It's why I say that they're going to try to slowly zombify people into not seeing, and it doesn't work on people like us, and it just pops my head. I feel it.
Oh, yeah, that makes good sense, brother, because I was born with pneumonia. I could not be nurtured by my mother. Her mother's milk was out of the question. I was fed soy, and I was dunked. I spent my beginning weeks in ice baths as a kid. In 1967, when you're born with pneumonia, the traumatic, what they do to keep you alive is they keep you in ice. And I was iced my entire childhood at that time of my life. I was born with pneumonia. That's funny that you say that. And that could very well possibly be an exact reason for us to have the ability to defend ourselves without even knowing it. We are immune, I believe, and I'm with you, brother. I think we are immune to a lot of the vibrational frequencies that are around us that by other means affect everyone. Confusion. You know, I have a friend of mine that works at Walmart, and her disposition about the people that are coming to Walmart is that they are becoming more and more aggressive, more and more less kind, greedy. It's in the parking lot, in the lines, and the people are becoming more and more. They have no patience with each other. They don't care anymore. And it's funny. Let's go to the Bible, and it says, "The love of many shall wax cold." And that is a really, really poignant connection there, you know. And I want to just give it to you, Steve. Take that away, buddy.
No, and again, what are the things that we're looking at here on the screen, guys? And we're talking about, we're talking about human beings, we're talking about the eternal temporal perspective, we're talking about ascension, but we're also living right now in a very tumultuous, magnetic time. When you talk about frequencies, the frequencies that are battering and battling the earth right now can be seen in a way on this magnetogram that I'm showing you right now. And right here, what you got is the earth, and you've got all of this energy being pulled to the rear of the earth by what we think our bodies back there. And that's not what the important thing is that I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is this is bound, all of this energy around the earth is bound to have an effect on our emotional health and the people that we see around us in Walmarts or, out and about in doing things. And let me give you a further illustration. I'll take you over here to the Schumann resonance, if I got it up here.
Hey, Steve, can you bring up one of those GOES images from like 2011? Can you show a comparison to one you were just showing from 2011 so they see the contrasting differences over the time?
No.
Up to now?
I guess I could go back. Yeah, I could go back. Let me try that. I'll just go back to
That'd be a great illustration to show the progressive nature of where this world and how this world is being affected differently today than it was 5 years ago.
I saw that I'm going to go back to September, or let's go back to August 20th, 2011. Let's try that. Okay.
Hey, you see the screen, everybody? Take a good look at it.
And it's going to just take a load it.
Seven, you're looking pretty healthy, Seven. Feeling all right? You're looking good, man.
Seven, you okay?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. He nodded. I saw him.
You guys are just beautiful to listen to. I'm soaking all of this in. And I'm also astral projecting and remote viewing a lot of your watchers right now. I'm listening. I'm sitting in some of their parlors, and some of their kitchens, and some of their living rooms. Hanging out.
It's funny you say that, Seven, because I can see things myself. I see things in the future. I don't know how I've been able to do it, but I have a history of being able to tell people. I'm not sure exactly how it'll happen, but I can see larger events and their capacity and the outcome of them way ahead of time, years ahead of time. If a certain situation shows up, I could say, well, here's what's going to happen. And, then I'm just quiet and I let it go. And then a few years go by and I can go back into the same person I was. I said, didn't I tell you that was going to happen? And they're like, yep. And it's almost every time. It's amazing. I can't explain it. And another thing, I also have a very close friend of mine that I've been recently involved with a little bit and moving and growing in a most amazing way. And I've watched her in her own right as a person who was buried in her own choices and the outcomes of them. I've watched her transform into just an amazing thinking, totally capable, awesome person. And just through just through a love connection and being kind and gracious and caring and sincere and honest. The transformation that we share with each other by an outward expression of love is the most incredible thing to the person that needs it the most. It builds hope, it builds compassion, and you know, the best way to overcome your hurt or your pain or your habit is to focus on someone else and try to reach out to them that needs you and share what you have to offer with them, even if it's the smallest thing. I just want to share that with everybody.
Right. I think that's something that's happening in this community, though. I think a lot of people are making those connections. But if you don't have the connection, man, try to reach out to people in the comment section and a lot of people will talk to you about this stuff. But I'm going to go back to the Schumann resonance again. Now, all of that space weather, guys, can be directly linked to this Schumann resonance. Now, I've explained it a million times, but I'll explain it again just in case you're new. And that is, normally we only see one band of frequency, but in this Schumann resonance over the last 4 months, we've been seeing additional bands. And this is abnormal. This isn't normal for a human being to feel this.
Right. That's the Earth's natural frequency, a heartbeat of the planet right there. That they're monitoring it 24/7, and it has a direct correlation with the human body and how you feel, how you think, and how you behave.
Right. And I think a lot of people are feeling this invitation to take a step up, to take a better approach to life, to become more virtuous, to seek spiritual things, to connect with source, if you will. And I really do believe that as these phenomena are happening around the earth, I think it's loosening the bands where people can think about stuff again, too, on the other hand, right? On the other, Seven. What do you think, Seven?
On the other what, in terms of...
Like, we talk about like 5G all the time. We talk about CERN, and we talk about the oppressive feeling and the fog. But there's this other phenomenon that I'm seeing too, where people are reaching higher, you know?
Yes, the Schumann resonance. You know, it's one of the reasons why I sing a lot. And I don't have particularly the best voice in the world, but I don't care. While I'm filming, I will so straight up rock some sunny days, talking about honey, what you take. I mean, I'll sing anything. I'll sing an Aunt Jemima rhyme. I'll just hum. I'm always lifting up my voice. And it's interesting how the birds notice it, dogs notice it, people notice it. Sound has changed itself, so you notice sound and frequency. And I tend to look at it from a biblical perspective. The walls of Jericho. And they walked around them bad boys 7 times. And it wasn't the biggest gun or the biggest sword out front. It was the singers and players. It was the people with the instruments and the harp and the lyre and the tambourine and the timbrels. You know, it's people who can lift up a frequency in front of them of just praise and happiness. And again, it's not a religious thing. I don't care. I don't care if you worship a rock and a feather. If they're good and joyous, and if that's your culture, then that's Jesus to you. And if your tendency is to be one of lifting up a certain frequency over the last few months or years, then no wonder it probably correlates with and is attracted to the Schumann resonance, and maybe vice versa. Because I continue to say, I think something is a true essence, a true intelligence is either coming back, is Gaia herself reaching out to a lot of us, a lot of my superiors, the women especially, who I will maintain are thrice the men that I shall ever be, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't. You know, I just the feminine essence that seems to be drawing closer. They always say, take off your shoes and stand in the grass. Something that I've done a few times. I'm listening to people. I'm taking their advice for the first time ever. Like you both have mentioned. You know, Steve, you mentioned in terms of Rex Bear, who I love. You know, we're less abrasive these days. We're not the pieces of sandpaper that we used to be anymore. Here, let me lick you, sandpaper face.
Right. I noticed a lot of people have been noticing that, and then what happens, I think, too, as we calm down and relax. Listen, I'm going to show you guys something here. Let me show you something. This is why we shouldn't be panicking. Now, this is an interesting image, certainly, okay? And I'm showing this image of something that just happened recently, and we're seeing this stuff. But we've been seeing this stuff since 1997. So I tell people all the time that want to panic. Here's some 1997, you guys. This stuff has been going on for a good decade or more, okay? Period. And it is going to, as Bobby was talking about before, I believe that people are going to be facing regional apocalypse. I mean, regional Armageddons of their own.
It's happening now. It's happening all over the world.
Percent of the world is in an emergency situation, you know, so it's just escalating, and it's just happening right under our noses. And guys, it's not about being afraid anymore. It's not about panicking and running off with your chicken with your head cut off. Let me give you another thing that I want to get out there before we end up the show today, you guys.
I want to say something before you end, though. Go ahead, brother.
Sure will. One of the things I want to say about prepping and all the stuff, I always see all these prepper channels and people that are prepping, and I really believe in good common sense, having food, water on hand, all that, right? I get it. But they're always anticipating that thing is when the S hits the fan, they're all anticipating that it's going to just break down overnight into a freaking total chaos. And I say, no, it won't. I'm going to make a stand to say, I believe people are better than that. Do you really think that people are just going to run out and just randomly start shooting just because the lights go off? Or do you think that communities will start to band together and really start to work together and really try to figure out what's going on together as this thing, if there was some type of event in your area? Look what happened in like, for example, Houston last year. We had like a huge outpouring of support from bordering states. What makes you think that that's not what's going to happen, that people's hearts are going to be tender towards each other? In America, when we have a disaster, we help each other, man. I don't see this like breakdown of social order and everything that other people do, guys. I just had to get that out there.
I'm with you.
So,
like going back, you know?
I'd like to homogenize 4 points. I just sat and listened very intently, and I as you were speaking, both of you both brought very poignant elements to what I'm fixing to say. For the Christians that think that the theological viewpoint is the only viewpoint, I want to make one connection. The Schumann resonance is a digital vibrational monitoring system watching what's happening here. That's electric. That's science. Jesus, or the Bible says that flesh is born of flesh and spirit is born of spirit. Now, if you don't think that being born of the spirit is being born of understanding of things that you can't see, well, read your Bible again. Because being born of the spirit means you have an awareness and an understanding of things that you can't see that aren't from this world. Now, the resonant frequency of this planet is something you can't see. It's of this world, and they didn't know how to explain resonant frequency when they wrote the Bible, if you want to go down that theological road, first of all. Now, a second part of the collection and the homogenization would be that you've been instructed to put your feet in the ground, right, Seven? Yeah. Well, let me take you over and make you make you satisfied in that choice, because my friend Eric Briggs, he absolutely has done his homework. And because this planet is also a magnet, if you want to get grounded and bring your harmonic resonance frequency back to 7.38, the same as the planet, you take your shoes off and you go out and you stick your feet in the dirt and you'll hook to the earth. And there you're balancing and you're doing the same thing a pacemaker does when it fires up when there's a arrhythmia in the heart. That's why they put it there, because your heart goes wacko and it loses its grounding on the normal pattern and beat of the planet. That's what that does. And another thing is, you want to talk about ascension. Ascension would be understanding those two facts through what? Through being still and being open and not being so stringent and rigid in your belief structure. Because one thing about believing something is you just might be wrong. You might believe the wrong thing because you were taught the wrong thing. That's all I wanted to say.
Fair enough. Well, let's bring this wonderful gathering to a close. But again, I only showed you guys maybe like half of what I have right now. It's all there, man.
I'm with you, man. You can keep going. We can do this all night long, brother.
Oh, I can't though, because I have other things to do. But I will say this. We're seeing this stuff. I'm going to let you guys have some final words, and then I'll make my final word. And I'll start with you, Seven. What do you want to say to everybody before we sign off tonight and just, love on people?
Well, yeah, because I'm going to go bust Sun's set. Everybody's doing exactly what as you both have discussed, what we are supposed to be doing right now. If you're in this for the species, if you're tending to love to be in the Nemesis Nibiru community, because your hope is just to be aware, just, knowledge is power. Forewarned is forearmed. I'd rather have a boomerang when I get attacked by that Nibi koala bear and not need it than you know what I'm saying? But I think Steve's right. I think that there's a beautiful I think that there's a beautiful return happening, because I see it every night and I see it every morning. I think that they want to be seen, whether it's the kingdom of God, whether it's the Care Bears, or whether, like Chris Potter used to say, it's just a cheese sandwich in the sky. It wants to be seen, it's beautiful, and it tends to, along with the Schumann resonance and all of you guys, it tends to make me feel very, very blessed and very and very good. It can't be a coincidence. Nibiru, Wormwood, a pole reversal. I'll tell you what. This planet could use a little shaking up. Because I'm ready for war, and that I'm sure that'll be for another video.
That will be for another video. But listen, I love you, Seven, and I want to get you on. Make sure you guys, let me get Seven's channel up here. You guys can check it out. Seven has been doing, and just let me give you a little bit of props, brother. You have been doing some photography lately. And you've always had great images. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to put down any of your past work, but I'm saying the stuff that you're coming up with recently has been blowing my mind, brother. And you've been doing a fantastic job day after day. Every day you go out and you film this for us so we can see it from an excellent vantage point over there by Cincinnati. Thank you, my brother.
Well, I wouldn't. You guys are, how I grew up. Nah, man, you guys are all my family, from the least little person who just joined.
And nothing has given me more validation than to be humble, to be available, and to produce what's going on my channel that's getting past broken. It is a way for you to look at yourself, and don't be afraid to look at yourself and dig that onion apart. And for me to be able to do this, it wasn't even my idea. I want to give props to Steve Olson, because I started my channel, and you can go back to the beginning and see where it was completely different. There was no content relevant to Getting Past Broken. Steve Olson, through deep conversation and intimate personal friendship, has given me the courage and the strength to hang on and to let the true essence of what I'm good at, and that's recovery. And it's the only recovery YouTube fully interactive. You can send emails, and if it's really important, I will give you my number, and I'm available 24/7 to anybody listening to this, because I know that sometimes things are difficult and important and critical at the moment. I mean, it can really be critical, and I want to know that I want to be available to everybody, and I want to give props to Seven and everybody else in the community, and thank you for your comments and the donations and everybody coming forward and bringing their heart and their love and their truth and their sincerity. I want to say thank you, and I love you, and I mean that. And I don't mean love in a flippant way. I mean, I really love you people. And please don't be afraid to be open and available and friendly and conscientious about other people's feelings, especially in the comments. Come at it from a very kind and perspective way where you're considerate of the other viewers and their comments. It's important, and that's what I want to say. Thank you so much, Steve, for having me on this show.
Right on. And Bobby, you can go check him out, obviously, at the Relentless Maverick channel here. I'll pull it up for you guys again, and the link will be below once this posts and gets processed, the video gets processed. And I'm going to finish up with a couple of observations and just a real quick thought, you guys. And that is, I really, really want you to think about ascension, because we all talk about it. We blow a lot of different ideas about it. And I love all of your ideas about ascension. But I really want to give you the idea that if you can just get past this temporal point of view for just a second, everything we see in this world, in this current place where we sit right now, is temporary. Everything is temporary. And I think that the only good that this thing can do for you, and I think it's a wonderful good, is it brings us to an eternal perspective, because we can see that things are temporary, very temporary. things could change in a moment. And for a Nibby person, for a person in this community, we know that things could change any second. And I think there's a healthy part to that. And that is that only if you upshift and say, I'm going to start looking at things from an eternal perspective, whatever that means for you, explore that idea. Explore what it means to be eternal. What does eternal power feel like? What does eternal vibration look like? How many beings are eternal versus temporal? Just start thinking about that for a little bit. And with that said, guys, I want to say goodnight to y'all. I appreciate you guys coming on the show. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening and a wonderful week. Steve Olson signing off, WSO.
Matt out.
Hello my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. So I want to talk to you today about the raw material. And so this is known as the Law of One. And to me it's just a thing of beauty. And very powerful. You know, it just rings so true. To me anyway, and to many, many others as well. And in case you're not familiar with this, the Law of One material is so insightful, and let me just give you a taste. The one intelligent infinity invested itself in an exploration of manyness. Due to the infinite possibilities of intelligent infinity, there is no ending to manyness. The exploration thus is free to continue infinitely into an eternal present. The best way of service to others is the constant attempt to seek to share the love of the Creator, as it is known to the inner self. This involves self-knowledge, and the ability to open the self to the other self without hesitation. This involves, shall we say, radiating that which is the essence or the heart of the mind-body-spirit complex. The best way for each seeker in third density to be of service to others is unique to that mind-body-spirit complex. This means that the mind-body-spirit complex must then seek within itself the intelligence of its own discernment as to the way it may best serve other selves. This will be different for each. There is no best. There is no generalization. Nothing is known. Each of you has at the heart that fire of suns, that spark of creatorness that contains all that there is. And so, in a very important way, each of you is beyond all changes yourself. The you that was created before time and space, the only you that ever was you, the only you that will ever be you. You are unique, and truly you are precious and beloved to the Creator, who values every distortion and every seeming imperfection that has dented and banged you in the fire of learning and made you who you are. For you vibrate with a certain chord that cannot be duplicated. That is essentially you. That is most beautiful. So when we look at this material, the way Source is described, or God is, as intelligent infinity, as also as the one infinite creator. And so right here in this statement, it's a very powerful one. The one infinite infinity, or intelligent infinity, so you could say source or God, invested itself in the exploration of manyness. So in the beginning is the one. There's just one. There's no duality. Due to the infinite possibilities of intelligent infinity, or due to the infinite, unlimited capabilities of Source or God, there is no ending to manyness. So in other words, there's so many things that could come forth from that which is infinite. The exploration thus is free to continue infinitely into an eternal present. And this goes on forever. So basically what they are saying is that Source basically created all that there is in order to explore many different possibilities and to explore itself from many different avenues and points of view. And re-looking at this, the best way of service to others is the constant attempt to seek to share the love of the Creator as it is known to the inner self. So again, you must go within. You don't know anything until you go within. You don't even know who you are. And so many of us go through life, we don't have a clue of who we are because we never take the time to discover who are we. Who are we really? Because most people are an imprint of that which society makes them. They're just reflecting other people's impressions and thoughts, expectations and desires on that individual, on that person. So most people don't even have a clue of who they are. And that's very, very sad. Most people take on a false persona that is simply what society has imprinted onto them. And so they're not really living an authentic life. They're not really living the life that they would choose to, because of their indoctrination, because of all the teaching. You know, I was looking for another word other than brainwashing, but basically indoctrination is really brainwashing in so many ways. We are imprinted with what society expects and wants us to be, and really what we need to do is go within. Don't believe something blindly just because you've been taught it. You must go within to find your truth. Otherwise, you are not even truly living your life as yourself. You are living your life as others want you to.
It's great getting 11% off of everything at Menards, especially when we're tackling a big project like updating our living room. We're saving on all of it.
Live. And as others view you, as others expect you to be, so you must be true to yourself, be authentic. Find out who you really are. You must go within. You're not going to find it out by going without. You must go within. So self-knowledge is so key, and the ability to open the self to the other self without hesitation. So our ability to automatically open our hearts and our minds to others, and to truly listen to them, and to truly try to feel and sense who they are without hesitation. This involves, shall we say, radiating that which is the essence or the heart of the mind-body-spirit complex. So it's all about energy and energy exchange. The radiation is the energies that come from us, hopefully they are the energies of love and compassion, empathy, acceptance, all these positive gratitude, positive emotions and energies. And they always refer to, in the law of one, the individual as a mind, body, spirit complex, because that is what we are. That is exactly what we are. We are a complex, a mind, body, spirit complex. The best way for each seeker in third density to be of service to others is unique. to that particular mind-body-spirit complex, to that being. Every being is unique. The way of you to be of service to others and of the world is distinctly unique in your own. Everyone is a perfect individual, and everyone is perfect in their own right. Because Source, God, the infinite intelligence that is, the one creative force, has made you. And so be true to yourself and accept who you are. Only when we accept who we are can we truly love another. And only then can we actually be of service to others in general. This means that the mind-body-spirit complex, the individual, must then seek within itself the intelligence of its own discernment as to the way it may best serve other selves. Each way is unique. What are your gifts? What are your passions? What do you have to contribute to others? Every one of us is unique. This will be different for each. There is no best. It's not that one's better than another. There is no best. There is no generalization. There is no one way. All are entitled to their own way, whatever that way is, as long as it's a way that is true to yourself and not something that's just imprinted on you, conditioned into you. So there is no best. There is no generalization. Nothing is known. And we look at this, each of you has at the heart the fire of suns. And if you were to look at what you really looked like on an energetic level, just look up at the sun in the sky, because that is what you are. You are energy. You are intelligence. You are consciousness. And that is your true state of being. You are a sun itself. That spark of creatorness that contains all that there is. And so in a very important way, each of you is beyond all the changes yourself. The you that was created before time and space, the only you that ever was, the only you that ever will be, you are unique, and that's a beautiful thing, and it's a blessing. And truly, you are precious and beloved to the Creator, who values every distortion and seeming imperfection that has dented and banged you in the fire of learning and made you who you are. So you are loved and beloved by the Creator. You are loved and beloved by the one infinite source of all. And don't you think that the prime source of all things, that one infinite intelligence, would know our imperfections and still love us for it? Do you think that we would be created that way in order to just simply be condemned to hell? To be condemned to torment, to punishment? That's not logical, it's not of love, and it's not of source. For you vibrate with a certain chord that cannot be duplicated. That is essentially you, and that is most beautiful. We are all unique. We are all individual expressions of the one true Creator, the one prime Creator. And each one of us is beautiful in our own right, and we need to accept ourselves. For the Creator accepts us, and the Creator doesn't condemn us. Not at all. We are not to be fear-based. Fear is restrictive. Fear brings nothing but a pulling back away from love. There is no love in fear. Fear is the opposite of love. And Prime Creator's source, the infinite intelligence of the universe, is love. So this is basically all of the Law of One here. There's 106 entries, and it's quite a bit of time going through it. All these were channeled by LL Research, Carla Ruckert, Don Elkins, and Jim McCarty between 1981 and 1984. And so I do have a PDF that's attached as well. And so you could browse by session, you could browse by category and topic, which is awesome. And I'm going to go over the synopsis with you, and there's so much more here. this material, by many more esoteric students, is thought of in a very, very, very high regard by many. Some fundamental ideas from the Law of One material. The one infinite creator. The Law of One states that there is only one, and that one is the infinite creator, which Ra, and Ra is the entity that brings us this. And automatically you want to connect to Ra, the sun god of Egypt. And as we know, many beings were worshipped as gods, quote unquote, in the olden days and even today. But in fact, they were not prime creator itself, not the one infinite creator, but other beings like you and me and other dimensional beings, beings that are just basically also emanations from the one source. So Ra is, in this sense, it's actually a collective of intelligences that have already ascended, that have already gone to a much, much higher dimension of reality, because they're embracing the service to others, and basically they're embracing the vibration of love. And that is what carries us upwards in the dimensions. If you embrace the vibrations of fear and of hatred and jealousy and service to self, that will send you farther away from Prime Creator and into a lower and lower dimension. And so, which Ra also calls infinite intelligence and the intelligent infinity, it is impossible to describe the one undifferentiated intelligent infinity, unpolarized, full and whole, but it can be activated or potentiated. Each portion of the creation contains, paradoxically, the whole. Fractals. So think about in terms of fractals, and there is the law of as above, so below. Illusion. Since all is one, all manifestation or appearances of meaningless is ultimately an illusion. And that is what Buddha found out as well. According to Ra, it's an illusion carefully engineered in order to give the Creator an opportunity to know itself.
We don't have kids, so our babies are our dogs and our business. I even have a dog bed on my desk for our little ones, so they're very involved in the whole process.
I can remember 10 different road trips where we would talk about the business we were going to open. We had all these ideas, and finally it just fell into our lap, honestly. And here we are. A lot of times Nicole will hand me a sketch of an entire kitchen or some built-ins, and I drive out of my way to go to Menards.
For our kitchen projects, Menards pretty much has it all. Everything from lumber to paints and stains.
Distortion. In Ra's terms, distortion is anything that moves away from an undistorted unity. This can be either what we would consider good, distortion towards love, or bad, distortion towards ill health. There are three fundamental distortions of infinite intelligence. The first distortion is free will, or finity, or the limit of viewpoint. The created universe that we experience is the Creator's exploration of itself through the first distortion, which Ra calls the law of confusion. The second distortion is love, or the logos, or the creative principle. It is the focus, the choice of attack, the type of energy of an extremely, shall we say, high order, which causes intelligent energy to be formed from the potential of intelligent infinity in just such and such a way. A logos can create a single star system, or it can create a galaxy with billions of star systems. Each galaxy has its own system of natural laws, and I believe its own cosmic mind. Ra says that some of its members have wandered to the creations of other logos, or logoi, and that the experience has been one which staggers the intellectual and intuitive capacities. In the case of galactic systems, the first physical manifestation of a logos is a cluster of central systems. The third distortion is light. It is the first manifestation visible to the eye. Light is intelligent, full of energy, and the building block of what we call matter. Light's characteristics include the infinite whole, paradoxically described by the straight line. Ra says that this paradox is responsible for the shape of the various physical illusion entities you call your solar systems, galaxies, and planets, all revolving and tending towards lenticular. Light energy has an upward spiraling characteristic which impels evolution. Sub-logoi. Our galaxy was created by a single logos, and our sun is a sub-logos of that logos. A sub-logos individualizes or differentiates the natural laws set up by its logos. It also refines the cosmic mind into its specific archetypical mind, informed by the experience of the other earlier sub-logoi. Sub-sub-logoi, and that humans are an example of a sub-sub-logoi. So in case you guys are wondering, that basically gives you an idea of what Prime Creator is, or Infinite Infinity, or, you know, the one creative force, God of the universe. And then the sub, we could say, deities that emanate out from that. So we could see that there really is only one, but ultimately, yes, and you could view it as there being many gods, quote unquote, but there's one source. And so, densities. The creation has 7 levels or densities. The 8th density forming the first density of the next octave of experience, just as the 8th note of a musical scale begins a new octave. Between 7th and 8th densities, the creation reemerges in a period of timelessness, formless unity with the Creator. It is Ra's understanding that the ways of the octave are without time. That is, there are 7 densities in each creation infinitely. They point out, though, that the limits of their knowledge are narrow. The first density is the density of awareness, in which the planet moves out of the timeless state into physical manifestation. Its elements are earth, air, water, and fire. On Earth, after matter has coalesced and space-time has begun to unroll its scroll of livingness, the first density took about 2 billion years. Second density is the density of growth, in which we call biological life emerges and evolves into greater and greater complexity. Second density on Earth took about 4.6 billion years. Third density is the density of self-awareness and the first density of consciousness of the spirit. It is the axis upon which the creation turns because in it entities choose the way, either service to others or service to self, in which they will further their evolution towards the Creator. Third density is much shorter than the other densities, taking only 75,000 years. Fourth density is the density of love and understanding. Those who have successfully chosen a path come together with others of like minds, in which Ra calls a social memory complex. And that is how Ra is. Ra is a social memory complex. In order to pursue that path, either loving self or loving others. Fourth density lasts approximately 30 million years. Fourth density lifespans are approximately 90,000 years. Fifth density is the density of light and wisdom. Lessons are often learned individually rather than a social memory complex. Fifth density entities are beautiful by our standards because they can consciously shape their physical forms. Sixth density is the density of unity, in which love and wisdom are blended together. The two paths reunite as those on the service to self path, realizing that they cannot successfully master the lessons of unity without opening their hearts to others, switch their polarity to positive. Actually, Ra is the sixth density. Their sixth density cycle is 75 million years. Seventh density is the gateway density, in which we once again become one with the once again. This is born a new universe, a new infinity, a new logos, which incorporates all that Creator has experienced of itself. So very, very interesting stuff. Here is the PDF for you guys to check out, and it's great material. And also there are YouTubes on it that you could just listen to, of course, and it will go through. It does have that computerized voice on there, which you might find annoying, or you might find, you know, kind of cute. Every one of us will view it a little bit differently, as we are all unique expressions of the one infinite intelligence, the one prime creator, the one source of all. And so it's just great, great, great material. This is all the introduction, which goes on quite a bit. I do encourage everybody to go and explore it fully. It is great stuff, and it's all done, as you see here, it's all questions and answers. So they simply ask them questions and get answers. And I found it just fascinating, and very, 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 very much enjoyed it. So my friends, I hope you do find this interesting. There is so much to talk about in the Law of One, and we could explore more in other upcoming videos as well. It's great stuff. It really, really is. And, you know, one thing to remember is this is the game: to know, to accept, to forgive, to balance, and to open the self in love. And that's from the 50th channeling. So much good stuff in there. I hope that you guys will check it out. So my friends, as always, please do thumbs up, support the channel, share with as many people as you can, subscribe, join our family, grow with us. Reach out to us. I mean, the love that extends forward in this family is just amazing. An awesome, awesome group of people that I am so thrilled to have around me. You know, even if it's just around me energetically, and we are hundreds or thousands of miles apart, ultimately everything is an illusion but the love that joins us together. So God bless, my friends. Namaste.
I grew up in a small farm community in rural Missouri where
Evolutionary Energy Arts family. I want to talk to you about something that is leaps and bounds. Everywhere, every corner of the world, it's just springing up. People are camping out in the woods. People are setting up their tents or whatever they have on the side of the street. And so I want to share with you my day today. So out doing some errands, we see a sign and we see a tent just sitting on the side of the road. And so I'm driving along with my friend and one of our Evolutionary Energy Arts family members, and you know, we see this setup and we pass them, and I said to her, I said, "Should we turn around?" She said, "Yeah, let's go find out what his story is." So we did. We came around, did a U-turn, and you know, stopped and talked to him. And he's living out of this tent right on the side of the road. His name is Dave, and Dave is 66 years old, and Dave has been doing this now for many years. He has been living in Florida for 65 of his years. He still has his dreams. He's looking for investors for a turbine engine and energy system. He has these ideas for alternative energies, and that's what, you know, he's still passionate about. He is ex-veteran. He does get some money for being a veteran, and it enables him to buy some food. And just to show you how trusting a person he is, he was handing me $45 if I would just go to Walmart because he needed water, he needed little odds and ends, toilet paper, cottage cheese, he wanted some Ritz crackers, he would love a salad, he loves apple butter to go on his Ritz crackers, and then he felt like he was getting dehydrated, so he wanted some smart water for hydration. And so he knew that everything was going to cost about $45, so he was handing me $45 saying, would you do some shopping for me? And, you know, talk about trusting. And this is Dave. So he's giving me the money ahead of time, and I said, no, you hold on to this. You have to be careful. I mean, you might trust me, but you just don't know. People will take advantage of you. He said, fair enough. He said, bring me back the receipt, and I'll reimburse you. And so he handed me his list of things that he needed to get, and off we went to go do some shopping.
If your moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's symptoms are holding you back, and your current treatment.
And so we picked those things up and a few other little extras that we figured he might need, and made our trip back down around to him and dropped it all off. And just talked to him a little bit to get to know him. And, you know, he's a very intelligent guy. He's a very nice guy. Asked him what happened to his leg. And he said that they ran him over where he was before. They were kicking him off of the plot of land he was before on. And this is why he's got it so close to the sidewalk right here, because he figures it's kind of like a intermediary zone. He was in a different spot farther back in the woods, and he got kicked off by some quote-unquote authorities that apparently were a little bit rough, in that he said they drove over his leg in the process, and it did look like there was a lot of swelling, and it looked very uncomfortable. And then when he was after he got discharged from the hospital, apparently at one point in time he had enough money to actually stay in a very inexpensive motel for a few days, which he did to shower and to enjoy those type of things that we all take so for granted. And meanwhile, he said that the people who came in and cleaned the rooms cleaned more than just the room and took like the excess cash that he had from his, veterans checks, and so he was in tough straits. And so he's been living here now, basically on the side of the highway for a while, and this has been his lifestyle for many, many, many years. He has been doing this for many years. I believe he said 17, the last 17 years. He has been basically homeless, living out of a tent or whatever makeshift structure he's been able to do. And you see he's got his little Coleman propane stove there. He's got his one frying pan and a few things. And this is his life. And you know what? He's actually not unhappy. He's actually, he felt super blessed because when we brought it back to him and gave him all the supplies, he was trying to pay me, and I told him, no, this is our present to you. And our Evolutionary Energy Arts family member here is having a birthday in 2 days, and she said, this is actually my birthday present. So this was what she wanted for her birthday, was to give him a surprise gift of some supplies, which Evolutionary Energy Arts did for him. And so, it's just a small little token for just one individual. But you know what? You put a smile on somebody's face during the course of a day, and you make a new friend, and it's a beautiful thing because you've touched a life. And so, this is Dave in his wheelchair in Dave's home. And if anybody's interested, he is interested in investors. And You know, it's a beautiful thing when you're able to touch somebody's life. Obviously, there's so many people out there that are homeless. It's impossible for, you know, everybody to make sure everybody has all their needs met in the world system that we have right now. But maybe we could change it, you know, slowly but surely, a few people at a time. We have to simply show that we care. We have to simply show the love. We have to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. And so let's forget about dogma. Let's throw dogma out the window. And let's just simply love on each other. Let's just simply take care of each other. Let's truly show the Christ that lies within each of us. Because that potential lies within each of us. We all have that potential within us. That Christ self, that Buddha self. You know, whatever you want to word and term it, because it's all just words. The important part is the emotions, the love, the compassion, the sharing, caring, putting a smile on somebody's face. That's legit. That's real. Touching a life in any way you can. It's a beautiful thing. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do. We're here to pick each other up. We're here to just simply extend a hand. And if we can't do it monetarily, you know, a lot of times it helps just to listen to somebody. Take a few moments out of your life and your day and just actually listen to somebody that needs to tell you their story. That needs to feel that they're seen. How many times do we just walk by and don't look? We don't smile, we don't acknowledge, because it's going to maybe bring pain or an uncomfortable feeling to us that maybe we should be doing something more than we have been. You know, that maybe that could be us or one of our loved ones sitting right there. Extend a little compassion by showing acknowledgement. I see you. You are important. You know, importance is not measured by the size of your house, if you have a house, or what car you drive, how much money is in your bank account. In my mind, the divinity of Source lies within every single being on this planet and in all realms. The love of God, you know, lies within all of us, and show that love of God by your acts, by your deeds. And it doesn't have to be monetarily. Much of the time, it's actually better just simply to give a hug and just listen and say, I hear you. You know what? You're important. Thank you for sharing. And just share your love, share your compassion, share your time, share a smile. Simplicity, patience, and compassion. These three are your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate toward yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. That's Lao Tzu from Tao Te Ching. This is my simple religion. There is no need for temples, no need for complicated philosophy. Our own brain, our own heart is our temple. But philosophy is simply kindness. Very, very true, very well said. A new commandment I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. Jesus. Silence the angry man with love. Silence the ill-natured man with kindness. Silence the miser with generosity. Silence the liar with truth. The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Matthew 25:40. Radiate boundless love towards the entire world, above, below, and across, unhindered, without ill will, without enmity. And that was Buddha. So my friends, Take the time to smile at somebody today. Take the time to shake somebody's hand. Take the time to look somebody in the eyes and tell them that you love them. Tell them that you appreciate them. Tell them how much they mean to you. And maybe do that with a stranger. A perfect stranger, somebody that you've never met before. Doors are unlocked when our hearts are opened. Keep your heart open and let your love radiate outwards from within towards all beings. Nothing but loving kindness and compassion. Namaste and God bless, my friends.
People with type 2 diabetes are excited about the potential of once-weekly Ozempic. In a study with Ozempic, a majority